simple mail transfer protocol? POP3. And they may DNS. FTP. Telnet. SSH. ICMP. Simple network management protocol. TCP. UDP. IP. Likewise, you can write quite a lot of protocols inside the TCP/IP protocol. So basically, TCP/IP is a collection of protocol, and inside this collection, I have written a couple of these protocols just to give you an idea. And based on what we are doing on the internet, we will have to use respective protocol. Example, if you want to use the web, then you have to use this HTTP protocol. So when you want to access the web is a service under the internet, but you have to use a protocol, then that is HTTP. You want to send and receive mails, then you may have to use this protocol, which is in the TCP/IP family, and that is used to send and receive mails. Email related services, you have to use the TCP/IP protocol, but inside that you use the SNMP and POP3. Likewise, if you want to remotely log into machines and work remotely for a particular computer, or it can be a particular router or switch for remote access. So basically, for remote access, we use Telnet and SSH. Likewise, if you want to download large files, companies can keep their own file server, then the file server for file transfer. You use FTP. Likewise, you know, when you are accessing the internet, always you use fully qualified domain names. You type just www.nibm.lk. But really, if you want to go to the site, you have to type the IP address. But where we type the fully qualified domain name, then DNS makes the name resolution. So that means DNS is one protocol in the TCP/IP family that is used primarily for the purpose of name resolution. You can say name resolution. Likewise, there are various other protocols. Now, example, if we talk about SNMP, we'll discuss all these protocols one by one. If you take simple, this is simple network management protocol. This is used for network monitoring. In a network, if you have 1,000 devices, 1,000 computers, right, you can't monitor one by one. I'll talk about this more into detail, but for the time moment. So SNMP is a protocol used for network monitoring. And maybe likewise, ICMP is used for troubleshooting. Now, out of all these protocols, you can see that TCP, right, this TCP and IP are going to be two important protocols. That is the reason why this protocol was named as TCP/IP. Because we studied in our previous lectures, transport layer dekata bedana TCP hari UDP hari, and TCP makes things reliable. TCP makes things reliable. That means if I'm using the protocol HTTP, right? HTTP, it's application level. When you come to the transport layer, I have to use TCP. I'm using SNMP and POP3 to send mails in the application level. When I come to the transport layer, again, I have to use TCP to make it reliable. Because TCP provides flow control, error control, acknowledgement. So it makes it's important. It plays a vital role there. Likewise, this IP is also very important for all these protocols. All these protocols try to use IP also, because if you want to send a packet from one machine to another machine, you should be able to identify the source and the destination. Right? To identify the source IP, destination IP, and do routing based on IP. So IP is also used by all other protocols. Hence the name of the protocol, right? This entire thing was named with a name called TCP/IP. So you took the two most important protocols like TCP and IP and named the protocol as TCP/IP. And so we say that TCP/IP is a collection of protocol, and TCP/IP is a protocol that dominates the internet. So that should be clear. So now we will take one by one, like HTTP, DNS, FTP, ICMP, SNMP, and talk what are the functions that are performed by these type of protocols. So that's the big picture, right? So TCP/IP is a collection of protocols, and based on the service, you have to use respective protocols. Web access කරන්න ඕන නම් HTTP. Email යවන්න ඕන නම් simple mail transfer protocol POP3. Network monitor කරන්න ඕන නම් SNMP. Large files if you want to transfer FTP. Name resolve කරන්න ඕන නම් use DNS. Remote access කරලා වැඩ කරන්න ඕන නම් Telnet, SSH, RDP, VPN. All this, right? So likewise, you have respective protocols. කරන්න service එක අනුව we use the respective protocol for our use. So now you see here, starting with the first application layer protocol, which is HTTP. So HTTP, you can say HTTP is one of the widely used protocols today, right? HTTP is one of the widely used protocols on the internet, because internet has multiple service, and HTTP is used to access the web. So this is used to access the web. So HTTP is a protocol which allows to fetch resources. Resources mean pages, web pages, such as HTML documents. Right? It is based on, it is the base of any data exchange on the web. So basically, if you want to access the web, HTTP is the primary protocol that we use. You can call it as web or www, right? And World Wide Web. So this is just a name, but the protocol is HTTP. And we refer it as a client-server protocol. The reason is you should have a server, a web server. In the web server, you should use an application, say like Apache or IIS, and host your website and enable the protocol HTTP in the server. So the server will be talking the language HTTP. On the other hand, any client, the reason for client server. So you have this server hosted the website. You will have clients all over the world who can come and connect to the web server using a particular web browser. So you can use a web browser in your machine. Either it could be Chrome, it can be Firefox, Internet Explorer, whatever, Safari or anything. and you try to connect to the server, but both have to use the same language, HTTP, right? So that's how HTTP is being used. So as you know that you can say HTTP is one of the widely used protocols on the internet, and HTTP is used not to connect to the internet. It's wrong. HTTP is used to connect the web, or basically to access the web. Because web is one service on the internet. So if you look at this picture, it gives that particular idea where you have a machine here, you have a machine and you have a server. This may be abc.com, and this and in this server you should host your website. So you can see something here. It's the web server application. You say web server application, like I said, Apache. And in Apache, you host your website. And so inside this, your website will be there. And our client also should use a program, like the server used a program called Apache. The client machine will use a program called browser. And using the browser, you type abc.com. Then it uses the protocol HTTP in the application layer. When it comes to the transport layer, it has to select either TCP or UDP. So in our previous class, we studied the fact that text-related content is more suitable to go through TCP. So HTTP will use TCP and establish a connection. And we know that TCP is a connection-oriented protocol. එතකොට පාර මෙහෙම හදා ගන්නවා a TCP connection, and using the protocol HTTP, the server and the client both are using HTTP. Both are using HTTP. Both can communicate with each other. And maybe in abc.com, if you have a link to connect to another server, maybe you can, by clicking at that link, which we refer as hyperlink, it will maybe jump to another server like the same, where you will have a server which a web hosting software like Apache or Tomcat or basically IIS with a website where you can move from one site to another site, right? So that gives that picture about that HTTP protocol, how it tries to work. The next what we have to look, how a URL looks like. Guys, are you all clear in what I'm talking? Can you hear me? Is it clear for you all? Can you hear me, guys? Okay, fine.
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, fine, good. So to go on, if you look at this HTTP, if you take a URL, what are the contents that a URL has? So if you take a URL, basically, you are aware that always the first one implies the protocol. So here you can have either HTTP, and then that is referred as the protocol. You can have here HTTPS, that is also the protocol. FTP, then that's also the protocol, right? So then the first part of in a URL, if you take, you will it represents the protocol. And the next one, usually if you take a site like www, like nibm.lk, or here www.example.lk, you should get it clearly. What do you mean by a domain name? I'll talk more about domain names when we go to DNS, but for the time moment, when you look at a URL, what is meant by a domain name? So here, the entire thing, www.example.lk is not the domain name. It should be clear that only example.lk is the domain name. Ethot, if you have a site like such like www.nibm.lk, we just have a site called, if you have a site said www.nibm.lk, in this one only nibm.lk is the domain name. www is not a domain name. Right? So basically nibm.lk is the domain name. So whereby in this example, example.lk is the domain name. The next that should be very clear is what is this first portion? And it should be again clear whether is this a protocol? www. So obviously you know that HTTP is a protocol, whereby www is not a protocol. www, but still it's not a protocol, right? And the next, so one point is that www is not a protocol. HTTP is a protocol. So if you take a URL, always must you have www here? Is the other question. But in most instances, when you look any site, even if you take nibm.lk, it's www.nibm.lk. If you go to Adhatharana, it's www.adhatharana.lk. If you go to dailymirror.lk, it's www.dailymirror.lk. If you go to University of Colombo BIT site, it is www.bit.lk. If you go to Facebook, hopefully that is also www.facebook.com. YouTube, www.youtube.com. So what is this www? So it should be clear that this www reflects to the host name. And this need not to be always www. Now, for example, have a look at my example. I'll just clear this screen here. So according to my example, if you take if you take www.nibm.lk, in this, what happens is that only nibm.lk becomes the domain name. This is a domain name. And what is this www means? That, as I have given in my previous slide, that is called as a host name. What is this www? It's called as a host name. Now, what do you mean by this host name? Now, have a look at this. nibm.lk is the domain name. And after a company takes a domain name, the company can have many host names. So if this company nibm.lk wants to host their web server, have a look at this. nibm.lk wants to host a website, and now they have to define a host name under the domain name. Under the domain name nibm.lk, www is a host name, and this will be pointing to a server. That means if you type www.nibm.lk, if you type www.nibm.lk, it will go to what machine? You have to define it here. If you have a web server, that web server's IP address 66.10.76.170. Example. This is the meaning of a host name. So what is www? It's a host. It's a machine that it points to. So www, as you can see here, www is the host name. And for this place www, you can put any name if you want. It need not to be www. But organizations, for their web server, now you think this is their web server? For a web server, you usually try to put it as www. And this 66.10.76.117 is the web server. And when you type www.nibm.lk, this www is pointed to this particular IP address. Likewise, if NIBM has an email server, we can do this. We can keep another host name like this. Mail. M-A-I-L. Mail.nibm.lk. So mail is again a host name. And that will be pointed to another server. Maybe 66.10.76.118. And I put here a meaningful mail called mail because when you type mail.nibm.lk, it connects to this machine. And what is that machine? That is our email server. Likewise, now NIBM has an LMS, but unfortunately we don't go like that. We have a different domain name. But if we Kamathi, we can use like this. Just under this domain name, use a host name called LMS. That means LMS is a host name whereby lms.nibm.lk is equal to what? Now we'll assume that our LMS is done by some company and that is in US. That LMS server is in US. Then no kalabala. You just put that IP address here. Ask me or NIBM LMS server IP එක බලලා මෙතන දාන්න. It can be absolutely in a different location. That doesn't matter. So maybe I'll use a different IP, just say like this, 103.11.17.35. Can be in a different location, but the idea of this is it is our LMS server, Learning Management System server. The LMS is a host name. Mail is a host name. www is a host name. And nibm.lk is the domain name. Now come to the point. Now, usually web servers, usually all companies, for their web servers, they put the host name as www. Now, is it a must? කැමති නම් ඔක www කියලා දාන්න. But now maybe at NIBM if you think නෑ අපි තමයි හොඳටම කරන්නේ අපි පොඩ්ඩක් වෙනස් විදිහට කරමු, then අපිට කැමති නම් අපිට මෙහෙම කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට මෙතන දෙක කියලා දාන්න පුළුවන්. www2.nibm.lk. කොහොමද ඒක? කැමති නම් ඒක කරන්න පුළුවන්. So then if somebody asks me, Ilham, what is the NIBM website? I had to tell like this. මචං අපේ වෙබ්සයිට් එක www2.nibm.lk. කොහමද ඒක? මරුනේ. If somebody types www.nibm.lk, it will not work. It will not work because there is nothing called www in this file. So nibm.lk will have represent a text file, and that contains this. And in this, if there is no www, then it will not point to any place. You got the point? So basically, if you take other than .lk, daily, as my usual examples, right? gossiplanka.lk, හැම එක්කෙනාම මෙතන www කියලා තමයි දාලා තියෙන්නේ. නමුත් ඔයා හිතනවා නෑ අපි පොඩ්ඩක් වෙනස් විදියට කරමු කියලා. කැමති නම් ඉතින් වෙන නමක් දාන්න, but ඉතින් එපා. සමහර තැන් වලින් try to just use the common thing. Right? So it's beautiful to see a website is starting for www. But if you think, no, අපි වෙනස් විදියට කරමු. අපි මේ හැම කෙනාම කරන විදියට කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. එහෙම හිතනවනේ. But certain things don't go to that type. Sometimes you can think, no, අපි වෙනස් විදියට කරමු. That's okay. But certain things try to follow the standard. Then it will be better. Right? So that should be clear that so according to this example, I have explained you what is domain names, and www is a domain name. Sorry, not a domain name. It's a host name, and a host name will always point to a particular machine. Email is a email. Kiana word deka is a host name that points to a machine. LMS.nibm.lk. LMS is a host name that points to a particular server. So likewise, if we have an HR system, and that is a different web-based solution, we can just have like this. HR site hr.nibm.lk. That will give you a website. Now there are www කියලාන්නේ. ඒ site එකට www කියලා කියලාන්නේ. Then if you type just hr.nibm.lk, you get a website. But then that website server type here. If it is again in US or in wherever, you take the IP address and put it here. 99.7.109.example. Then this is again a website, or basically this is a web application. HR web application. If I want to apply leave at NIBM, I just go to hr.nibm.lk. Right? So now if somebody types their www.hr.nibm.lk site එක වැඩ කරන්නේ. ඒ හේතුව ඒ site එකට www කියලා කැල්ලන්නේ නැහැ. Right? Because that is hr.nibm.lk. Right? Okay. So likewise, that is the idea about host name. So you know what is a protocol? The first one. You know what is a domain name. And then you know what is a host name. So here it can be www.example.lk. It can be mail.example.lk. It can be something like lms.example.lk. Can be hr.example.lk. Likewise, anything. Monitor.example.lk. A monitoring tool maybe. But then that will give you an open a web-based application. Right. So if you just type like this, it is sufficient. But if you want to go to a specific file, then you will have to type the path. That's the path. And finally, end with a file name. Right? එහෙම නැත්නම් නිකන් මෙහෙම type කරොත් it will go to the home page of that particular site. Right. So those were the content what is usually seen in a URL. Moving to the next protocol, which is HTTPS. So what is the difference between HTTP and HTTPS? I think most of you people are aware. Right? I'll just clean this screen. ඔයාලට මොනවද තියෙනවා නම් screenshots එහෙම ගන්න පුළුවන්. Right? නිකන් පටස් මං කියද්දි screenshot එකක් ගත්තා save කරා. Right? Okay. So when I talk about, I'll just clear this. So the difference between HTTP and HTTPS, I think most of you people are aware of it. If you take this as the internet cloud, you can have a server here, and maybe you can have another server here. Both these servers can have a website. If this server, and you know, after inputting your website, I have to use a protocol. If I use it as HTTP, then what happened? From this side, you can have clients connected to the internet. So what happened is that this user will also have to use the protocol HTTP. And go and connect to this particular site. And what happened is that if in case that there is a hacker who is interested to see all what are going on in the internet, so he's a hacker. This is a hacker, and what he can do is he can simply go and creep and see what's happening in this site. එයාට බලන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ හේතුව HTTP sends data in clear text. So So what is sent by the client and the server can be easily eavesdropped, hacked, intercepted by the hacker in the middle. So if you think that no, I have a website and I want to make it pretty secure, then what you have to do is you may have to use another secure protocol called HTTPS. I'm first giving you the big picture. So the HTTPS, then what happens is if this user, I'm taking the same user, is trying to go and connect to this site here, both will have to use the protocol. Since he's using HTTPS, he will also have to use HTTPS. So if you use HTTPS, what happens is this hacker, when he tries to creep inside this link, he has no chance because he can get the data, but it will be Hindi Chinese inside. It's crumbled. He can't understand what is it. So that's the idea about HTTP and HTTPS, right? It sends data in clear text. He sends data in encrypted text. Now, if you talk further about this, so I think in my previous class, I would have spoke about it. If you have a site which has confidential information like username, password, credit card details, such type of a thing, whatever is confidential, then that site should be HTTPS. But if it's just a public page, then having it HTTP is no problem, right? So going here, HTTPS. In HTTP, the URL start with HTTP, whereas in HTTPS, URL start with HTTPS. Port number, I told you when we install an application, හැම application එකටම port number එකක් දෙන්න ඕනේ. So basically HTTP port number is 80. The port number is 80. If you have HTTPS, it works in port number, not 80, 443. So if a company has a firewall, in the firewall, 443 should be open. එහෙම open නැත්නම් what HTTPS sites වලට යන්න බෑ. Facebook, Google, Gmail, එහෙම යන්න බෑ because all are HTTPS. So in general, the port number 80, the port number 80, and the port number 443 is generally open in all the companies, right? Okay. And HTTP is considered as unsecure because why? It's not encrypting. Hackers can creep and see the information, whereas HTTPS is secure. So එකට හේතුව තමයි HTTP encryption is absent, encryption නෑ, but encryption is present in HTTPS. Now, if you want to do a site into HTTPS, what you have to do? You have to install a web server. Then it will start talking HTTP. By the default configurations, when you enable HTTP, it will enable. But if you want to make it secure, and make it HTTPS, then what you have to do is you have to take a certificate. You call that certificate as SSL certificate. SSL stands for Secure Socket Layer. You take a SSL certificate, you have to take it from a certificate authority such as a VeriSign, AT&T. These people give certificates. So you can take an SSL certificate and bind it to your web server. So your web server will talk HTTP and you take the protocol SSL certificate. කියලා අපි කියන්නේ ඒක අරන් දෙකම add කරොත් the final output will become HTTPS. So basically there is no තනිකර protocol called HTTPS. It is HTTP protocol එකට SSL certificate එක ඔයා embed කරපු ගාම ඒ දෙකම එකතු වෙලා that becomes the HTTPS protocol. So here we know that if a client wants to talk to the web server, you should have a language. The language is defined by HTTP. See, defines how messages are transmitted. Defines how messages are transmitted. But then that's not secure. A message එක transmit කරද්දී SSL එක දැම්මොත් ඒ packets ටික encrypt වෙනවා. So HTTP defines the way how a client and server can talk, how they can talk, and SSL makes that secure by encrypting. That's the point that you will have to get there, right? Okay, so that concludes the HTTP and HTTPS protocol. So the next application level protocol is considered as, or what is in line is simple mail transfer protocol and POP3. Right, I hope that you can understand things. If you have any questions, any clarifications, or anything is not clear, the chat window is available. You can put your questions in the chat box, or you can feel free to on your mic and ask any questions while I'm doing the lecture. Right. So moving to the next protocol, which is simple mail transfer protocol and POP3. එතකොට මේ protocols දෙකම අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. Like earlier I told you, HTTP is used to access the web. But then that's not secure. But if you want to access it in a secure manner, you can use HTTPS. But that is also used to access websites or web applications in a secure fashion. But to access the web. Now we are coming to the other service, which is the email. You know, email is a widely used service. Now, when you want to configure organizations, will use Outlook. If you take dialog.lk, or basically organizations can use a mail server, and in order to send and receive mails, we can use the protocol SNMP and POP3. Both SNMP and POP3 are protocols for handling emails over the internet. IMAP කියලා තව එකක් තියෙනවා. I'll talk about that later. ඔයාලා දැනට emails පාවිච්චි කරන්න අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්න protocols simple mail transfer protocol එකයි POP3 එකයි. ඒක තියෙන වෙනස තමයි, the difference between them is that SNMP protocol handles sending mails. Mail යවන්න ඕන නම් we use SNMP simple mail transfer protocol, while POP3 takes care of receiving the mails. So you want to download mails, you have to use the POP3 protocol. See here, so basically dekama emails වලට පාවිච්චි කරනවා, but a simple mail transfer protocol is used to send. If I want to download the mails to my computer, then I have to use the protocol POP3, right? එතකොට see here, SNMP operates on TCP. මෙන්න every protocol should be added with a transport layer protocol, like we studied in the previous class. So SNMP, why it is using TCP? Why can't use UDP? UDP ඕනනම් දාන්න පුළුවන්, but ඕක එතකොට reliable වෙන්නේ නැහැ. එතකොට SNMP TCP එකේ දැම්මොත් තමයි SNMP will become a reliable communication. So flow control, error control, acknowledgement will be there. එතකොට error එකක් ආවොත් ඒක negative acknowledgement එකක් යවලා ඒ packet එක ආපහු ගෙන්නගෙන හදලා දෙයි ඒක. Right? And also we studied that in a machine, every application when you install and you want to access it from outside, you should have a port number. එතකොට SNMP පාවිච්චි කරන port number එක 25යි, POP3 පාවිච්චි කරන port number 110යි. Now if you look at a picture, have a look at this. උඩ එකට වඩා පල්ලෙහායක බලන්න. දෙකම එකයි. this portion is only here, and another portion is added here. I'll just make this picture a bit larger. Hope that you can see. So if you take this diagram, paint එකට copy කරන්න පුළුවන්ද? So you have here the sender, and you have here the receiver, receiver. So sending a computer and the receiving person is here. The sender, you can see here just like a Cinebollo. So basically that is in the sender's computer, you will have to use an application, maybe Outlook. Example, use Outlook. And you open Outlook, and when you try to send a mail to Ravi or somebody, so you try to send to somebody, then it will make use the protocol simple mail transfer protocol and send it through the internet to the respective mail server. So what is this? Email server. Email server can be with the service provider. Now, when this comes to the mail server, when this mail comes to the mail server, can you see two circles are here? That means there are two programs. This is a program who listens. He's SNMP. Simple, so SMTP. He's responsible to take the mails. And this is POP3. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol has another name, Message Transfer Agent. So when a person sends a mail, it uses the protocol Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, and it comes to the server, and you should have a service that looks for the mails that comes. That is SNMP. So if I install an email server, example, SendMail is an example for SNMP. Right? You can configure the POP3 and you can configure the SMTP also. And then it will take the mail and put it into the respective person's mailbox. Ravi nang Ravi ge mailbox. Right? Nimal nang Nimal ge mailbox එකට mail එක දායි. Then Ravi එයාගේ ගෙදර ඉඳලා when he clicks on download or send and receive, he is using also Outlook. He will use the protocol because he is downloading at this time. එයාට තියෙන නිකන් send receive button එක ඔබන්න විතරයි. එයාට තියෙන්නේ send receive button එක ඔබන්න විතරයි. එයාගේ configuration එක POP3 SNMP configure කරලා තියෙන්න ඕනේ. It will automatically use the protocol POP3 and come to this server. Server will ask, are you came with SNMP or POP3? No, I'm using POP3. I want to download your mails. Okay, come. He will welcome that. And ask, අනේ ඔයා කවුද? රවිද? ඔය password එක මොකද්ද? හරි. හරිනම් රවිගේ mailbox එකට ඇවිල්ලා mails ටික මෙතනින් අරන් mails ටික download කරයි රවිගේ machine එකට. So maybe this is Nimal. Nimal would have sent a mail to Ravia and Ravi downloaded to his machine. So likewise. So යවන්න පාවිච්චි කරන්න protocol එක SMTP, download කරන්න පාවිච්චි කරන්න protocol එක POP3. දෙන්නම පාවිච්චි කරන්න users ලා දෙන්නම පාවිච්චි කරන්න application එක Outlook. So in Outlook you can configure POP3 and SNMP. Right? එතකොට SNMP SMTP පාවිච්චි වෙන්නේ mail එකක් යවද්දි POP3 will be used when you want to download the mails. Right? So that is the diagram which gave both together to explain that. This is only one side of the story. SNMP. Mail එක යවුවා මෙතනට ආවා. Download part එක again they have repeated that here and showed the POP3 part there. Right. So that is about SMTP and POP3. If you are using email as SMTP and POP3, what mails tamange machine ekata download karanna පුළුවන්. But we can use another protocol. We have another protocol called IMAP. We can use IMAP also. IMAP එක පාවිච්චි කරොත් තියෙන වෙනස ඔයාට mail downloads කරන්න බෑ. If you use IMAP as a protocol, you can't download mails. You have to read mails, read emails while it's in the email SRV. Just think about your Gmail. Gmail එකෙන් mails download කරන්න පුළුවන්ද අපිට? බෑ. Right? So basically IMAP පාවිච්චි කරොත් you have to be connected. Another point. You have to be connected to internet while reading emails. Emails කියවද්දී when you are reading mails, you should be connected. But if you are using this method, this SNMP and POP3, mail එක download කරාට පස්සේ internet එක disconnect කරන්න. Because the mail is in your computer, you can read it. But if you are using IMAP, you have to be connected to the internet while reading. So Gmail is this concept. Can use that concept. So then mails, emails, read emails while in the email server, right? And you don't download it in IMAP. In this combination, user will have to backup. May mails tika user backup karanna ඕනේ. Because after sending it from the server to the client, in most cases the mails in the server is deleted. And the mails are with the user. User laptop එකට download කරොත් mails ටික තියෙන laptop එකට. Laptop එකට මොනවාරි කියලා වුණොත් එතකොට mails ටික නැති වෙයි. එතකොට user backup කරන්න ඕනේ. But if you are using IMAP, ISP will backup or basically keep emails. Keep on backup emails. ඔයා මුකුත් කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. ඔයාගේ Gmail එක ඔයා මොනවාරි backup කරනවද? කලබල වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. ඒක Gmail එක ඇති. You don't need to get kalabala. They will look at it and they will they have multiple mirrored servers. So if you receive a mail, it can be duplicated in 2-3 servers. If one is down, it's still available. So IMAP පාවිච්චි කරොත් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් server provider will back up the mails. You don't need to back up. Right? And IMAP is suitable for people who move around. නිකන් Gmail එක ගැන හිතන්න. ඔයාට ඔයාගේ laptop එක බලන්න පුළුවන්, NIBM computer එකේ බලන්න පුළුවන්, ඔයාගේ යාළුවගේ ගෙදර ගියොත් එයාගේ machine එකෙන් බලන්න පුළුවන්. පරිස්සමෙන් කරන්න but possible. But if you are using SNMP POP3 combination, simple mail transfer protocol, and POP3 combination, right? That means you are downloading your mails to your laptop or your machine. And then the mails are in that machine only. But you can disconnect and read the mails. Right? Right. So today people prefer this method because, like I said, it's very flexible. You can read it from any place, any machine, and you don't need to worry about backing your mails. Right? Okay. So emails, when you are configuring it, you can configure it as a SMTP POP3 method or as an IMAP method. So IMAP is like a web console. You get a web console. You don't download it using an application. IMAP, you just use a web console and access it, right? Okay. So that is about email protocol. And the next we are moving is to FTP protocol. Before I move to FTP, any questions, anybody? Yes, guys, are you all clear? Can you get the points what I'm talking? Hope you're there. Okay, fine, good. So next, moving into the next application level protocol, which is called FTP. Right? Then FTP කියන protocol එක දැනට ඔය දන්නවා. මොකද්ද? File transfer වලට පාවිච්චි කරන protocol. If I just go here, if you take most of the companies today, most of the companies will have a file server. Now, what is the heading? FTP. So a file server can use the FTP protocol if you want. Right? You can configure a file server to use the protocol FTP. FTP is one protocol that can be used for file transfer. So for example, you just take this diagram. You think you have an organization and your computers are connected here. And so you have your computers all connected to a network. For explanation reason, I'm writing a diagram like this. In my previous class, I can remember I spoke something called NAS. Network attached storage. But NAS, I think I told you, this is a special gadgematic. You have to purchase this. Right? It's very expensive, but it is about 3-4 million it will cost. Right? So you will have to invest on this NAS box. And I think I told you in the previous class or Ravi කියලා එකක් හදලා 10 GB allocate කරලා තමන්ගේ machine එකට D drive දාලා එහෙම I explained you in the previous class under the topic of advantages of network. Now what is file server is මෙතනට යන්න නැතුව වෙනම gadgematic එකක් දාන්න නැතුව හරි වෙනම gadgematic එකක් දාන්න නැතුව in a company you will have servers. You will have servers, database server, web server, DNS server, DHCP servers. You will have machines. We are Sri Lankans, we prefer to catch two birds from one stone. So you can use a server rather than purchasing this NAS. This is also a good option, but then you have to invest. But I think you have a server. These are just my machines, servers. What you can do is, I just take this machine. You can install what? A file server. So our topic is what? File server. And file server පාවිච්චි කරන්න protocol එකක් FTP. So file server එකට software එකක් කරන් මෙතන install කරන්න. You have a software called example FileZilla server. FILE FileZilla server. Download කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right? You can take this file. Oh. FileZilla server. Right? FileZilla කියලා you have a software. දෙකක් තියෙනවා FileZilla client, FileZilla server. Take the FileZilla server and install in this machine. Next. Okay, next, finish. After double clicking, after that, the server will become a file server. And in this software, when you open, I just took FileZilla as one example. Likewise, you have another software called Serve You, right? ඒ වගේ ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. ඔයාලට ගිහිල්ලා නිකන් Google එකේ type කරන්න පුළුවන්. free නැත්නම් free එකකින් කරන්න. මේ file server softwares. Right? Or free on නම් ඉතින් free file server softwares, right? After double click on this, you can create a user. Create user තියෙන එතන ගිහලා හදන්න user කෙනෙක්. රවි නම් රවිය. ඊට පස්සේ folder එකක් හදන්න. ඔයගේ D drive එකේ කොහේ හරි folder එකක් හදලා right, and you can what allocate capacity. So for example 100 GB. So you created a user 100 GB. You created a user called Ravi, and you assign a password to Ravi and 100 GB. And this server, this FileZilla server, will have an IP address 10.10.10. Lazy එකක් දාන්න. Put an easy IP address. Then only people can remember it. Example 10.10.10.100. Now you can tell Ravi may අපිට office එකේ FileZilla server එකක් sorry FileZilla නෙමෙයි. You don't need to tell him FileZilla. අපේ file server එකක් තියෙනවා. ඔයාට account එකක් හදලා තියෙනවා. අපේ file server එක 10.10.10.100. ඔයා Ravi ඔයාගේ මම දැනට දාලා තියෙන welcome 123 දාලා access කරන්න. So this Ravi can go to any machine and go to run. මෙන්න බලන්න. Have a look at my computer at NIBM. See, I'm going to run. I just went to run. I have typed here /192.168.16.34. This is our file server. This is one of our file servers. So like this, according to my example, you type 10.10.10.100 here. So in IBM, we have 192.168.16.34. It's a very common one. You can use it. Click on OK. Now it is prompting the credentials. Now if it is Ravi, you type Ravi and the password. Now I'm at NIBM. We have a common one called Cisco. Password is student student at 123. You can use it. Oh, sorry. Username is student. Password is Cisco at 123. Right? You can it's a common one shared by students. So then you can right. So what is the username? Student. Password is Cisco at 123. And okay. Now see here, it opened. And there is an IBM. I just double click on IBM. See here, high diploma ළමයිට මේක ඇතුළට යන්න පුළුවන්. Now ඕන එකේ. Now say I share students here, network engineering, SR switching and routing. I put my softwares, my lab sessions, certain softwares what I want to share with students, a driver what I want to share. This is a tutorial. These are some softwares what I have shared with students. How to configure syslog server, how to configure TFTP server. I have just shared here. So basically, based on that username password, it comes to this location, and quite a lot of things are shared here. And this is a common username password for all the students. Likewise, we can create various username passwords. A username password එක අනුව තමයි මෙතන එන්න display එක. මෙන්න බලන්න. දැන් මම ගිය ගම NIBM එක තමයි මෙතනට ආවේ. Because my username was student and Cisco 123. But maybe if I had given a different username password, maybe I would get here a different folder. Right? So based on the username password, ඒ අදාළ account එකට ඔයාට යන්න පුළුවන්. So in companies, using file servers are common. Right? And you can share a file, upload a file, download a file, right? And you can keep a common username password, or you can keep it for every user. Ravi make ඔයාගේ share කරන්න එපා. නිමල් මේක ඔයාට මොනවාරි තියෙනවා නම් commonly දාන්න මෙතන share කරන්න. share කරන්න නෙමෙයි. ඔයාගේ data ටික තියන්න. ඔයාගේ password එක දෙන්න එපා අනිත් කට්ටියට. But likewise we can keep a common one also. Right. So that is the idea about FTP FTP file server. So file servers වලට you can use various protocols, and when you are configuring this FTP FileZilla, you have to define the protocol. Next කරලා යද්දි මොකක්ද පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ protocol එක. එතකොට මට නිකන් FTP enable කරොත්, then FTP will be the protocol that will used to share the files from the server to the respective computer. Right. So that is about FTP. So FTP is a commonly used protocol for file exchange, exchanging files over the network. It can be over a LAN or over the internet. So I can remember in our working place also, when a customer tells I have a problem, and if I want to investigate the problem and I want some screenshots or I want some log files, I create in my FTP server, I create Abans 123 and tell Abans me IP address එක type කරලා Abans 123 දාලා යන්න. අර තැනක් හම්බෙයි. ඕකට ඔයාගේ files ටික දාන්න. මම මෙතනින් බලන්න. If not, sometimes some people email address, they can't attach large files. He will tell mage log files ටික තියෙනවා ඒක 200 MB වෙනවා. ඒක 200 MB මෙතන email එකට attach කරන්න බෑ. Then create an FTP account. Give it. To create an FTP account, you should have an FTP server first of all. So for Abans, I will create an account called Abans. Set up welcome 123 or Abans 123 and give it. After that, that problem is solved, I'll delete it. Now, when Abans type that IP address, it will prompt maybe when they type the IP address, it will prompt username and password. But when they give Abans and Abans 123, that will not work because that doesn't exist. Likewise, right? Okay. So that is about file server used to exchange files. FTP uses separate control and data connections between the client and the server, commonly runs on port number 20 and 21. 21 is used to send a control signals, and 20 is used to send the data signals. So if you have a firewall in the middle, you have to make sure port number 20 and 21 is open. If it is not open, FTP server will not work. Right? And as I said, FTP may authenticate users using a username and password. Right? Or you can keep IP address එක දීලා enter කරපු ගාම username password එන්නේ නැහැ. අහන්නේ නැහැ. Editing, it will go inside. Anonymous account. Right? You can create it anonymous also. So the high level picture is this. You have an FTP server. It's a machine. It's a computer. Right? And the clients can connect to that and share files likewise. එතකොට අර NAS ගැන මම කතා කරද්දි, that NAS is not a server. It's not a computer. It's a special gadgetic. Right? And that you can connect to the network and configure the NAS equipment. But then the NAS, you have to purchase it separately. But FTP, that means when you take a file server, it is a machine. Now even my laptop, I can make this as a FTP server. Right? FTP server and share data and create accounts and give and so on. Okay, so then that's about FTP. Guys, මතක තියාගන්න සාමාන්‍යයෙන් FTP protocol එක encrypt කරන්නේ නැහැ. So අර මම ඔයාලට මෙතන see here, I would have told you when you are configuring this FileZilla, ඔයාලට තියෙනවා protocol next කරලා යද්දි select කරන්න ඕනේ. ඔයා පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ protocol එක මොකද්ද? So default FTP is there. You may have something called VSFTP, very secure FTP, file transfer protocol. And Meva example I told you. That's one protocol, VSFTP, very secure file transfer protocol that encrypts the data. Right. So, but the default FTP doesn't encrypt. Right. And the next one is Telnet and SSH. So where are we? Yeah, you all are at your respective houses, hopefully. But the subject is that we are in the TCP/IP protocol, and we know that TCP/IP is a Pata protocol. It's a suite of protocol, or you can call it as a collection of protocols. And we are taking selected protocols and discussing. May protocol like a pavichi karande. May protocol like a pavichi karande. Right? So we just concluded by talking what is FTP, and now we are moving to the next protocol in the TCP/IP family, which is called Telnet is one protocol, SSH is another protocol. I can add here further RDP is another protocol. All these protocols are used for the purpose of remote access. They are used for the purpose of remote access. Remote access කරන්න තමයි මේ protocols ටික අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. Right? So under the topic of remote access, we can use either protocols like Telnet, SSH, RDP. Then මේ remote access කියලා කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? එතන Telnet, SSH, RDP පාවිච්චි කරන්න සුදුසු තැන මොකක්ද කියලා අපි බලමු. Going back to my paint. කරදර තමයි මෙතන paint එක ලියන්නේ එක, but all right. So where are we? With our topic, our big picture or our main is remote access. Remote access එකට අපිට Telnet කියන protocol එක, එහෙම නැත්නම් SSH කියන protocol එක, එහෙම නැත්නම් RDP protocol එක පාවිච්චි කරනවා. VPN is there. That is one of the heart of remote access, but I will talk that separately under the topic of security. So I did not put /VPN here. Okay? VPN is not a protocol, but VPN is a technology. Under VPN, you have technologies like PPTP, L2TP, IPsec. Those are protocols, right? So I'll talk about that later in the latter part of my lectures when I'm talking about security, right? Then at remotely machines access කරන්න ඕන machine hari route එකක් hari switch එකක් hari access කරන්න ඕන, we can use one of these protocols. Just to give you a scenario, a case, we'll think in your office you are working in a large organization and you have many servers in your company. You have many servers. I'm just writing a big picture, right? And these can be switches, and maybe you can have routers, just to give the picture, the high level picture. And you have various servers. Assume you are working for a software development company, or software any company you are working, right? For the company's success, you want servers. What are these servers? Example, this can be a database server, and this database server is in Linux. For my example, right? This one. This is a database server, and it is in Linux, and this have the IP address 66.10.10.17. Get me clearly, right? So you have a database server here, but it's not Windows, right? It's Linux. And this is the IP address. Likewise, you are having another server, which is an application server. And this application server is a web-based in Windows. And this is 18, a different machine. So this is an application server. And this application server can be a payroll or something. I'm just saying AP1, application server 1, and that is this. ඒ වගේ මේවත් ගොඩක් servers තියෙනවා. එක්කෝ Windows, Linux අන්න එහෙම තියෙනවා. Right. Now you think and this company is connected to the internet. All companies are connected to the internet. Right. Can have maybe one connection or two connections or something, right? They're connected to the internet. And maybe in this company, inside the company, various people using their laptops or desktop things, they try to access the particular network inside the office. Using their laptop and all, use these servers. Example, I took database server, Active Directory server, DNS server, right? Application server 1, application server 2, like this, quite a lot of servers you can have. So if you are a software developer, for testing purposes, you can have servers, right? To build your tools, or basically to build your software, right? So you have quite a lot of servers. Now you think, I'm working in this company. Rather than taking you, I'll take I. I'm working in this company, right? Okay, I'm working in this company. Now in this machine, in this company, you think there's a third dial. He's the vendor. And since he's the vendor, he gets an opportunity in Australia. And he said, "Macha manna yano, mata me vendana piano." Kila mu koida giye amma tudu mu giya Australia to giya. Mama yanne amma mehe thamai, right? So that fellow went to Australia. But when he was going, he tells you and go, "Macha mana tibbot apang pula support එක දෙන්න." And that fellow went. Now you are the fellow, or fellow or fellow, whoever, you are in the company. You are here, right? Here, and now that fellow went. Now, and the fellow who went is the Tadadad. He's the vendor. You are also a vendor, but you are a semi-vendor. So what happened is that after that fellow went, you get a problem in this server. Get a problem in this particular server, you try your level best to solve that database issue, but you are unable to solve it. Then what you remember, ade ara hitiyot goda dala denawane ba, mu giyane ba, u kiyala neda giye, unta ona support එකක් දෙයි කියලා. WhatsApp එකේ නිකන් hi එකක් දාලා බලමු. You put a hi for him. Sri Lanka, you put a hi. Oi නෙමෙයි, hi. And surprisingly, this bugger also replies hi. Now you are happy. Hi. And now you tell him, to tell this guy here, මචං අර Linux machine එකේ පොඩි අවුලක් තියෙනවා, මම ඕක මේ පොඩ්ඩක් ඔයාලට support එකක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්ද? And now see here. So this is in Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka, and it's in Australia. Now, can he give a help? Yes, he's in Australia, right? In all the part of the world, now you have internet access. Even in Sri Lanka, in rural areas, also you have internet access, right? So basically, he in Australia can do anima. He think මෙයාට තියෙන්නේ ඔස්ට්‍රේලියාවෙන් එයාගේ කම්පියුටර් එක ඉන්ටර්නෙට් එකට කනෙක්ට් කරාට පස්සේ ඔයාගෙන් අහන්න තියෙන්නේ මේ මල්ලේ ඒ මැෂින් එක මොකද්ද? Windows ද Linux ද? අර Linux එක බං, අර Linux database machine. හරි. මොකද IP එක 66.10.10.17. හරි. මොකද username password එක? මම කාටවත් දෙන්න එපා. root එකයි මොනාර අමුතු password එකක් ඇති කිවිල tell. Now this fellow, say here, he can use either telnet or SSH and access to this machine. But if you use Telnet, and access that database machine, then the data will go in clear text. It doesn't encrypt. But if you do an SSH, it encrypts the data. ENCRYPT. Encrypts text. And you have to do a Telnet or an SSH session if you want to connect to a Linux machine. Linux machine, එහෙම නැත්නම් router එකක්, router, එහෙම නැත්නම් switch එකක්, SWITCH switch. එතකොට ඕක ඔයා දැනගන්න. And you can do an SSH also. If you do an SSH to connect to a Linux machine or a router or a switch, then it encrypts the text. Right? So Telnet and SSH is used to connect same things. See here? Telnet and SSH can be used to connect Linux machine, router or a switch remotely. But if you do a Telnet, it sends the data in clear text where the hacker can hack it. Thereby, if you do an SSH, the hacker has no chance. So you have to remember that to remotely access a machine, if it is Linux, make sure SSH is enabled. Right? So then what this person can do is, I'll later give you an idea. You have to use a tool called PuTTY. I have it in my machine. I'll give you an understanding. You can use PuTTY. Give this machine 66.10.10.17. You have to give the username password. And what you can do is it will connect from this machine. It'll connect from this machine to that machine. And this machine's console screen will come to this machine, and you can configure the database one from Australia. So you can remotely access a machine using Telnet and SSH and access a Linux or a router or a switch and work. Right? Now we'll think this Windows machine is giving some utapata. This is giving some trouble. This has an application, and this application is not loading correctly. The machine is working. Machine එක වැඩ. Application එක වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ. Application එක වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ. Now you can tell this fellow, මචං ඔයාට අර AP1 එකත් හරියට දන්නවනේ. හරි කියපම් මොකද්ද ඔය machine එක මොකද්ද? 66.10.10 ඔක Windows නේ. Right. Windows now එයාට කරන්න තියෙන්නේ Telnet SSH නෙමෙයි. එයාට RDP පාවිච්චි කරලා Windows machine එකක් access කරන්න. එතකොට ඔයා Windows machine එකක් නම් මොකද කරන්න ඕනේ? You have to use an RDP, and the latest versions of RDP encrypts the traffic. Encrypts text. Parana versions doesn't, but the new versions encrypt. And you can connect to a Windows machine. So from here, if you want to access the Windows machine, so what is this? This is SSH. Telnet to පුළුවන්, but Telnet කරන්න එපා. එතකොට hacker ට පුළුවන් ඔක ගල් කරන්න. Right? So now, you do SSH and connect it to the Linux machine. Likewise, you can use RDP. You can use RDP and come to this machine. What is that? RDP, and connect to a Windows machine. And Windows machine ge screen එක මෙතනට එනවා. ඔක වැඩ කරන්න තියෙනවා. So that is referred as remote access. So remotely, you are maybe in Australia, you are connecting to servers in Sri Lanka and configuring and working remotely, right? So එතකොට remote access වලට අපිට පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් protocols telnet පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් SSH පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ telnet SSH පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් අර මං කිව්වා වගේ Linux machine එකට නම් router එක configure කරන්න නම් switch එකක් configure කරන්න නම් you can use telnet and SSH. Telnet is not secure, SSH is secure. So try to preferably configure telnet SSH, don't do telnet, right? But if you are wanting to remotely configure a Windows machine, then you have to do RDP, right? So now just to give you that idea, how can you do telnet and SSH? You can use a software called PuTTY. It's a free small software called PuTTY, P-U-T-T-Y, PuTTY. So see here on my desktop, it's a free one, just PuTTY. So you can just take this software called PuTTY and double click the PuTTY. It opens. See here, you have telnet SSH. So now you have to ask the person in the remote, මේ ඔයාගේ machine IP එක මොකක්ද? And type the machine IP here. So example, he can say 66.17.example 113 SSH නම් SSH open. When you click මේ වගේ IP address එක නැහැ, මම නිකන් මෙතන type කරවට පෙන්නන්න SSH open. When I click on open, it will prompt the username password of this machine. After typing the username password, that screen will come here. That machine's prompt will come here. Linux prompt will just display here. මට enter කරලා type කරන්න පුළුවන් commands ටික ඔක්කොම ටික කරන්න පුළුවන්. Reboot කියලා type කරලා තම්මට අර machine එක reboot කරන්නත් පුළුවන් මට. Likewise, so if you are doing a telnet, select telnet, type the IP address and open. එතකොට for this particular machine, it'll do a telnet. If you select SSH, it'll try to do an SSH. Right? So that PuTTY is a software that is used to do a telnet and SSH to a remote machine. And Windows machine, you can do remote desktop. RE කියලා type කරපු ගාම ඕක තියෙන මේ remote desktop මේ install කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. හැම machine එකම තියෙනවා. You have a remote desktop connection. Just click on it. See here. Now you have to type here the Windows machine. IP address එක type කරන්න 66.10.10.11 connect. Click කරපු ගාම it will prompt the username password. After you give the username password, that machine's screen will come here. මෙතන නිකන් මෙහෙම එනවා screen එක. ඔයාට ඔගේ ඇතුළට ගිහිල්ලා වැඩ කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. මේ වගේ screen එකක් අර machine ගේ screen එකේ ඔයාට වැඩ කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. Right? So basically when you take machines in the cloud එකේ ඔයා machine එකක් ගත්තොත් එහෙම වැඩ කරන්නේ. For some people they remotely work, their servers are in the cloud. Either it can be AWS, it can be Rackspace in the cloud. එතකොට තියෙන Linux machine එකට එයා ඉදිරියෙන් කොහොමද access කරන්නේ? SSH. Cloud එකේ ඉන්න Windows machine කොහොමද එයා වැඩ කරන්නේ? RDP. ඔක්කොම වැඩ කරන්නේ remotely. Right? Okay, so telnet, SSH, RDP are remote access related protocols. හරි එතකොට ඔයා remotely connect කරද්දී ඔයා දැනගෙන ඉන්න ඕනේ. ඔයා connect කරන්නේ machine Windows එකක්ද Linux එකක්ද? Linux එකට RDP දාන්න බෑ. It will not work. Right? So likewise, you should know what is the destination machine and use the correct tool and access it respectively. So that is this topic basically talking about telnet, SSH, and RDP. Telnet is so basically telnet. I think I have almost explained everything here, right? All these three are used for remote access, and it tries to connect to a remote device and give the virtual terminal, virtual command prompt එක ඔයාගේ machine එකට එනවා, right? And administrators or anybody can use that particular machine. and port numbers මම දාලා තියෙනවා and one disadvantage telnet එකේ තියෙන disadvantage telnet එකේ තියෙන disadvantage එක මොකක්ද? Data is sent in clear text, which is a potential risk, right? So due to that reason, telnet is now being replaced by SSH, and SSH will encrypt the traffic, and it will be a secure type of remote access. Okay, so that was about the remote access talking about. Now, before, in case you have any questions, any clarifications, feel free to put it in the, you can ask me, right? And the PDF note I have uploaded in LMS, so you can download the note also in LMS. Now, before we moving to DNS, I have some questions for you. I'll give you about 5-6 minutes. So here it talks about state whether the following statements are true or false. You can answer A, B, C, D. E and F, I think I did not start DNS yet. DHCP server also I did not do yet. So the rest, you should be able to say whether these statements are true or false. So read them and try to put your answers in the chat window. A dash T the F the. B dash T the F the. Try to see. Yeah, AB එකට කට්ටිය දාලා තියෙනවා. Try the others also. A is false. A is false උත් තියෙනවා, true උත් තියෙනවා. Okay, I'll come to that. B is there, C is there. බලන්න අනිත් දෙකත්. A, B, C, D. Okay, we'll see. See, okay, there are a couple of answers available here. So for A, some have said true, some. Okay, so when you look at A, HTTP is a protocol used to access the internet. Think carefully about this point. Now, if you say HTTP is a protocol used to access the web, then that statement is correct. But if you say HTTP is a protocol used to access the internet, it is not a correct answer. If you are correcting that answer, you can either correct it, said that HTTP is a protocol used to access the web, then it's correct. එහෙම නැත්නම් අනිත් පැත්තෙන් බැලුවොත් මෙහෙම කියන්න පුළුවන්. TCP/IP is a protocol. TCP/IP is a protocol used to access the total web, the total internet, the internet. Then you can say it as correct. But HTTP එක පාවිච්චි කරලා ඔයාලට web එක තමයි access කරන්න පුළුවන්. Because internet is just a whole collection of computers, right? So you on the internet, web is one service. On the internet, web is one service. To access that web only, you use HTTP. So based on that, HTTP is a protocol used to access the internet. Should be a wrong statement. B, web is one service used on the internet. I think most of the people had told that it is correct. Yeah, because the B is www is one of the widely used services on the web. That is correct, right? So B becomes a correct answer. www, sorry. www, yeah, www is one service. It didn't talk about a protocol. www is one service used on the internet. Is correct. They did not say www is a protocol. It's a service. www is a service, or basically web is one service used on the internet. Is correct. So B is correct. And even you can say www is a popular service used on the internet. Right. So based on that, B is the correct answer. C, POP3 is used to send. Yeah, එතනින්ම වැරදිනේ. POP3 is used to receive and SMTP is used to send. Right. So basically, C is wrong. So I think most of the people C, yeah, have told that it is false. Right. Fine. D එක FTP can be used to upload and or download files. Yeah, that's also correct. At FTP එක පාවිච්චි කරලා upload කරන්න පුළුවන් files. ඒ වගේම download කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. It's a two-way protocol. Right? It's a two-way protocol. So based on that, D is true. Right. So I think most of the people have put D as true. That is fine. Right. කට්ටිය F උත් කරලා තියෙනවා. F එකට මොකද්ද කියලාද? Let me see D and E also there. Yeah, E එකට උත්තර දීලා නේ තියෙන්නේ කට්ටිය. Question about E is true. Is true. Well, yeah, DNS can also resolve. Yeah, correct. DNS ගැන කතා කරේ නෑ තාම, but DNS සාමාන්‍ය අනිත් පැත්ත තමයි කරන්නේ. Fully qualified domain name to IP, but this is also correct. This also it does. When you give an IP address, it gives the fully qualified domain name also. But usually we do the other way around, no? Fully qualified domain name එක දෙන්නේ. .lk. That is fully qualified domain name. It puts to an IP address. But IP also it can put to the other side. Right? So then E is a correct answer. F එක බලමු. F එකට truth තියෙනවා false උත් තියෙනවා. බලමු. Yeah, IP address provided by DHCP is called, yeah, එක මේක ඇත්තට වැරදි. මේක DHCP එකෙන් I will explain you. DHCP එකෙන් හම්බ වෙන IP address එකට අපි කියනවා dynamic IP address කියලා. So IP address provided by DHCP is called static කියලා කියන්නේ වරදී, dynamic කියලා කියන එක තමයි හරි වෙන්න ඕනේ. Right? So basically this is a wrong statement. But we'll study these two in my other slides. Okay, so we just concluded Telnet, basically the remote access related protocols. And now we are moving into DNS. Now, what is this DNS protocol? So most of you people are aware about what is a DNS, and in very high level, if you talk about DNS, I'll just clear this screen. Right. If you take a DNS, the big picture of DNS is, so you have DNS. The big picture of DNS is that if you want to go to a particular server, right? A DNS server. I think that this is the internet, and you have multiple servers. And I'll just take one server here, and this is NIBM server. So NIBM server will be www.nibm nib.lk, and this will have an IP address like 66.7.13.117 example. And maybe your computer is here. DNS is here. This is the internet. Your computer is here. Connect. Now from your machine, if you want to go to this, what do you do? Number one, what do? You go to your Firefox and type www.nibm.lk. First, you go to your browser and type this. Then what happens is that from here, it has to go to the DNS server. Number two. And ask the DNS server, අනේ මේ www.nibm.lk කියලා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? ඒ number එක මොකද්ද? DNS server has a huge database. Fully qualified domain name IP, fully qualified domain name IP, fully qualified domain name IP. Fully qualified domain name to IP. This has a Pata database. Fully qualified domain name. So this is a fully qualified domain name to IP. So when I type www.nib.lk, මෙතනට යන්නේ නැහැ. මෙතනට මෙහෙම එන්නේ නැහැ. Because I gave a URL. It has number one, when I type this in in the browser, I type in the browser, right? This one, it goes to the DNS and ask, number two. අනේ මේ www.nibm.lk IP address එක මොකක්ද? He will return. He will give the IP address. මෙන්න IP address එක. And he will give the IP address. Number three. What is this response will be? It will be something www.nibm.lk ද ඒක මේ 66.7.13.117. Like that, this is the third request DNS will give. Now the machine will take 66.7.13.113 මෙයාට හම්බ වෙනවා. ඒක පාවිච්චි කරලා number 4, he will go to the destination server. So what is the number 4? The number 4 will look at what is 66. Because that is what you got from here. 66.7.113. Now he goes and 66.7.13.178 he comes to the server. So basically DNS කරන වැඩේ එකයි. If you type a fully qualified domain name, right? You type a fully qualified domain name, it has to come to the DNS server. DNS server has a database, which is a mapping fully qualified domain to IP, or basically IP to fully qualified domain name. ඒකෙන් බලනවා කො nibm.lk IP එක බැලුවා, ඔන්න IP එක දුන්නා. දැන් මෙයාට IP එක හම්බ වෙනවා. දැන් ඒ IP එක පාවිච්චි කරලා එයාට destination machine එකට ළඟට යන්න පුළුවන්. So basically fully qualified domain name එක පාවිච්චි කරලා route කරන්න බෑ. route කියලා කියන්නේ පාර හොයාගෙන යන්න බෑ. routing කරන්න බෑ. Right? Because routers in the middle, they don't understand when you say අනේ මට www.nibm.lk යන්න ඕනේ. They don't understand. They understand only IP addresses, right? So so basically you should get the point that human being can't understand, not understand, human being can't memorize all the IP addresses because it's difficult. Even mobile, I think I would have told, even mobile phones we can't, numbers we can't memorize. I don't. I know only my mobile number. I don't know any others mobile numbers. And I don't put an effort to memorize them also because it's there in the phone book. So our phone book is like the DNS server, or DNS server is like our phone book. You look at the name, phone book, you look at the name, get the number. Here you look at the fully qualified domain name, get the IP. Right? Right. So that is the big picture about DNS. So DNS is used to resolve fully qualified domain names to IP address. Example, if you type www.example.com, DNS will return the corresponding matching IP address. Then your computer can take that IP address and go to the correct destination. So this is that picture is only explained here. I think mama liyapu diagram එක තමයි. So you have the DNS server. These two people want to talk. They can't give their fully qualified domain name. මෙතනට එන්න. What is the IP address of කියලා අහන්න. මෙයාගේ නම මෙතන බලලා IP address එක දෙන්න. මේ IP address එක. ඒ IP address එකට මෙයාට එන්න පුළුවන්. Right? Right. So that is the idea about DNS. Now my next question is when you look at this one, එතකොට අපිට internet එකට access කරන්න ඕන නම්, if you want to access the internet, you will have to have what? A DNS server. අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ඔයාට internet access කරන්න ඕන නම් ඔයාට මේ DNS server එකක් ඕනේ. Now my question is, ඕගොල්ලන්ට ගෙදර DNS server එකක් තියනවද? How many of you all have a DNS server at home? Okay, I'll give the answer. දැන් නිකන් හිතන්න අපි ගෙදර DNS server එකක් තියන්න ගියොත් බොහොම අමාරුවෙන් එක ලැප්ටොප් එකක් ගෙදර තියෙන්නේ. මට තව DNS server එකක් ඕන වුණොත් I want another computer to work as a DNS server. That's going to be a high overhead for residences. No, for houses it's going to be a high overhead to keep a separate DNS. So you have to remember one point, guys. ඔයාගේ ගෙදර ඔයාලට DNS server නැහැ. ඔයාගේ ගෙදර ඔයාලට DNS server එකක් ඕනේ නැහැ. ඔයාට තියෙන්නේ ඔයාගේ service provider ගේ DNS server එක පාවිච්චි කරන්න තියෙනවා. එහෙමනම් ඔයා SLT ගෙන් internet connection එකක් ගත්තොත් ඔයා SLT ගේ DNS එක පාවිච්චි කරන්න. SLT ගේ DNS server එක මු දෙනවා. ඒක ඔයාලට පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඔයාලට SLT line එකක් තියෙනවා නම් SLT link SLT internet connection එකක් තියෙනවා නම් ඔයා ගෙදරින් type කරොත් දැන් නිකන් හිතන්න ඔයා ගෙදරනේ ඉන්නේ. ඔයා අද දෙරණ හරි gossip හරි අපන type කරා කියලා. එතකොට SLT link කියලා it takes that name adaderana.lk and go to SLT and ask. It goes to SLT and ask me adaderana.lk what is the IP address? SLT DNS server gives your computer. Your computer takes it and again go past SLT, go to the destination server. So basically a link එක ගන්න තැනකින් තමයි DNS එක ගන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට ඔයා dialog එකකින් ගත්තොත් dialog එකෙන් ඔයා ගත්තොත් link එකක්, a dialog link if you take, then you have to use dialogs DNS server. Dialogs DNS server. අනිත් පැත්තට වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඔයාට SLT link එකක් අරන් SLT link එකක් අරන් dialog ගේ DNS දැම්මත් වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ. වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ. SLT ගේ link එක අරන් ඒ කියන්නේ SLT ගේ link එක අරන් dialog ගේ DNS දාන්න බෑ. dialog ගේ link එක අරන් SLT ගේ DNS දාන්නත් බෑ. It will not work. Because these are called closed DNS servers. Closed DNS. It will work for only that particular customer. Closed DNS. SLT ගේ DNS server වැඩ කරන්නේ උන්ගේ customers ට විතරයි. අනිත් උන් ඇහුවත් උත්තර දෙන්නේ නැහැ. Likewise, you have open DNS servers. some free open DNS servers. ඒ serversට ඕන එක්කෙනා ඇවිල්ලා ඇහුවොත් එයා උත්තර දෙනවා. Example, this is a correct one. Example නෙමෙයි, මේක ඇත්ත එකක්. 8.8.8.8. This is a exact DNS server. So if an SLT customer comes to this machine and ask, when an SLT customer comes to this machine and ask, අනේ මේ මට www.nibm.lk මොකක්ද IP? This 8.8.8. server will respond because it's an open DNS server. එතකොට ඔයාගේ ගෙදර මොන හරි DNS server එකෙන් ඔයාට මොන හරි අවුල් කියලා දැනගත්තොත් ඔයාට manually type කරන්න පුළුවන් 8.8.8.8. And that server, anybody sends a request, he will respond to that particular query, right? Right. So that point also should be clear before we moving to the next part of it. This will study after the break, guys. So just to summarize the DNS part of it, DNS is used for name resolution. DNS පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ මොනවටද? DNS. The big picture of DNS is, like I said, remote access. A telnet is used for remote access. DNS is used for name resolution. Name resolution එකට තමයි we use the DNS protocol, right? And DNS server ඔයාගේ ගෙදර තියෙනවද DNS server? නෑ නෑ. අපේ ගෙවල් වල නෑ. ඔයාට කැමති නම් තියාගන්න පුළුවන් but ඕනේ නෑ. If you take a link from SLT, you have the right to use their DNS server. They will give it. But ඔයා username password දාලා connect කරපු ගාම auto උන්ගේ DNS එක set වෙනවා ඔයාට. ඔයාට ගෙදර dialog ගේ 4G link එකක් තියෙනවා නම් ඔයා username password එක දාලා connect කරපු ගාම SLT ගේ DNS server එක auto වට එයි. auto set වෙනවා. Right? Likewise, and even companies can use the service providers DNS server. Or if they want, they can maintain their own DNS server. So with that, guys, I will stop for my first session, guys. So I think it is almost 10:30 right now. So I'll stop for my first session right now here. So you take a half an hour break, guys. And at 11 o'clock, we will again meet in our second session. Okay, guys. So we'll start our second session. I have shared my screen, guys. Hopefully, you can see the screen. In the meantime, hear me as well. Can you see my screen, guys? Okay, fine. Good. So to start with, in the first session in the morning, we just we concluded the session by just starting DNS. So I think we finally spoke the point that DNS servers are important, and do we have DNS servers in our residences? Right. So if you have in your home, you will not have a DNS server. And we don't need to have a DNS server in our home, but we have to have a DNS server. But usually, home users used to use the service providers DNS servers කියලා අපි බැලුවා. Right? And if you take a link from SLT, you get SLT's DNS server. If you use Dialog, you get Dialog's DNS server. And you don't need to have your own DNS server. So even if you're working in a company, it's the same. Some companies, they don't have their DNS server. They think, right? So you don't need to use your own DNS server. Right. And I told you that only respected customers will be resolved using that DNS server. So it's not an open one, right? But we have open DNS servers also. So any customers, Dialog customer, SLT customer, any other Lankacom customer, all these people can send a DNS request to 8.8.8.8. That will respond because that is an open DNS server. The next what we are moving is in the morning when we were talking about HTTP, we discussed about URL. Example, HTTP ://www.nibm.lk. What are the components in that we saw? So for the moment, you know that nibm.lk is a domain name. It's a domain name. You know it. So now, under the topic of DNS, we are going to discuss how to select a suitable domain name for a company. Right? How to select a suitable domain name for an organization. So sometimes this has to be done before you publicizing your company's name. For example, I have some students who have come and told me, sir, අපි හතර දෙනාම sir අපේ batch එකේ එකතු වෙලා පොඩි company එකක් හැදුවා sir. අපි පොඩියට පටන් අරන් යනවා. Maybe Smart Tech or something, I can't now remember the name. But then maybe the first thing is Patas, to get a domain name. If you do not get the correct domain name, what can happen is another person can register that domain name and demand you. If you have not registered the domain name, another person can see our organization එකට මොකක්ද සුදුසු domain name, he can register it. And when you go to register it, that name is already given. So basically, registering the domain name early is important, right? And how can we do that? So I'll go to my parent. I'll just clear this one. Now, when you talk about DNS, the DNS domain names can be divided in two categories: country domain, generic domain, and එහෙම. So maybe one type is country domain. So for country, US, LK, JP, CA. Likewise, country domain, US, United States, LK for Sri Lanka, JP for Japan, CA for Canada, and so on. One type. This is called what? Country domain. The other type, when you want to register, you can go under the generic type. That is like .com, .edu, .org, .gov, right? Likewise, you will have various types of domain names. Top, you call them as top level domains. So top level domains are categorized into two. Called the country domain. Other one is the generic domain. So if you want to take a domain name for your company, first thing you have to select the proper domain name you have to select. For example, an IBM. And we want to register, we'll just think we already registered, but I'll just take as a scenario how we can think about registering. So if you take NIBM as a company or as a education institute or whatever, NIBM, if we want to have website, email servers, our LMS, everything, they all should be registered under a domain name, whereby we will have to select a suitable domain name that represent NIBM clearly. One option could be to take our domain name under country domain, which means I can go and register under LK domain because NIBM is in Sri Lanka. You can simply register this NIBM as NIBM.lk. And this could be our domain name. That can be our domain name. Or you can say NIBM.lk මේ පැත්තට යන්න. මේ පැත්තට එනවා නම් අපි බලන්න ඕනේ NIBM එකට සුදුසු මොකක්ද? So now if you take com, edu, org, likewise if you take com and org, com and org, what's the difference of them? If you take com, that is a commercial organization or then commercial company, profit making. ORG කියලා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කියන්නේ non-profitable නම් තමයි you call it as organization. So then ඔයා බලන්න ඕනේ ඔයාට ඇත්තට සුදුසු වෙන්නේ මොකක්ද එතන. බොරුවට register කරලා වැඩක් නැහැ. It does not give it will give a wrong impression for people. So then you have to see whether com or org or edu or gov. And එහෙම බැලුවොත් අපිට gov හොඳයි දැන් IBM එකට. IBM.org OSFees එක ගෙවන්න ගියොත් තමයි right. එතකොට අපිට ඒක එච්චර ගැලපෙන්නේ නැහැ. But again, rather than going to com, NIBM.edu will look something suitable because we are an education institute. Yeah, NIBM.edu. NIBM is an education institute, so we can take our domain name like this. Or NIBM is a Raja Ayatana also. We are a semi government sector. So if you want, we can go as NIBM.gov also. So these are some suitable possibilities that we have to decide. With NIBM.lk සුදුසුයි, NIBM.gov සුදුසුයි, NIBM.edu සුදුසුයි. So if I take this domain, Then if I have my website, my host name would be www, whereby our website will be www.nibm.lk. So එතකොට website එක බලපු ගාම ටග් ගාලා එක්කෙනෙක්ට කියන්න පුළුවන් NIBM is something in Sri Lanka. NIBM is don't know where, but it is related to some government sector. කවුරු හරි ඒක එහෙම බැලුවත් මෙහෙම ගියොත් nibm.edu කියලා URL එක දැකපු ගාම ලෝකේ ඕන තැනකින් they will realize NIBM is something, don't know where, but NIBM is something related to education. So it is a decision which the top will have to take. But all three are suitable. Right? So basically, based on that, maybe NIBM has decided abhi මේකට යන්න. nibm.lk register කරමු. And all our resources will go under the topic of nibm.lk, under the domain name of nibm.lk. So whereas the resource, this will go like this, no? www.nibm.lk. Mailed අර මං කලින් කිව්වා වගේ mail.nibm.lk. මෙහෙම යන්නේ අපි we are using for LMS, we are using a different domain, but we can go like this. All these are
You are now muted.
I think the link broke away. I'll share it again. Having some issue, it was my screen was shared, but I think I'll share it again, we'll see. Can you see my screen, guys? And can you hear me at the same time? Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, you
Okay,
we
fine.
can see the screen.
Okay, fine. So I don't know. I think maybe a couple of minutes. I don't know whether it was disconnected. So I was just talking about that domain name, right? That structure is divided into two: country domain and the generic domain. And if you take any organization, for example, I took as NIBM, you'll have to see what is suitable for you to register. So if you take NIBM, we can go to the country domain and register as nibm.lk. Then all our resources that we publish, it will go as www.nibm.lk, mail.nibm.lk, lms.nibm.lk. If not, we can register another suitability based on one of these other domains. So based on their meaning, you have to select what is suitable for you. So if you take NIBM, maybe again we can say nibm.gov because we are a government sector, or nibm.edu is also suitable for us. Then we can either go to nibm.edu or nibm.gov also is suitable. So first, when you are starting a company or whatever, you have to, after selecting the name, you have to quickly register your domain under the suitable form that can represent your company clearly. So as according to my example, NIBM, according to this explanation what I did, all three are suitable. nibm.lk ගන්නත් පුළුවන්, nibm.gov ගන්නත් පුළුවන්, nibm.edu අපිට සුදුසුයි. All are relevant to us. So if we have, so basically we have registered it as nibm.lk and all our resources are under nibm.lk. So website goes as www.nibm.lk. So likewise, so then if somebody sees that URL, they know that NIBM is something in Sri Lanka, don't know where. Right? So likewise for EDU also same. If I register it under nibm.edu, our website will go like this. By looking at this, somebody can know, right, NIBM is something related to education, but by the URL, you don't know where is it. Right? So likewise, you decide what is suitable for you. So NIBM has taken nibm.lk, but if you want, we can use nibm.lk. In the meantime, register this also. I don't know whether have we registered it, and this also, and block it. So maybe another person can't take nibm.edu, we register it and just block it, but we don't use it. But we are using nibm.lk. So all our resources, you put it under nibm.lk. Right? lms.nibm.lk. Abhi LMS එකට එහෙම නෙමෙයි යන්නේ. We are using a different domain name. So it's a top decision that you have to take. Api වෙන domain name එකෙන් යන්ද. I think that is going as NIBM World, right? Well, our LMS used to yeah, NIBM World. NIBM World, worldwide, nibmworldwide.com, and see here LMS. I hope that you can see LMS is the host name. Make it www කරලන්නේ. So LMS is the word LMS is the host name that reflects to the server, right? Right. So likewise, you have to select a suitable domain name that matches your organization, right? Right. So so likewise, if you and as I told you, if you don't take the domain name immediately, another person can take it. For example, if you take McDonald's as an example, ඇත්තට McDonald's company ගන්න කලින් a normal person registered mcdonalds.com because he did a feasibility study and saw McDonald's is a popular company. They are starting in various other countries. It's an old story, I'm telling you. Right? So before the McDonald's company had mcdonalds.com, just an individual Just an individual went and registered McDonald's.com and he kept the site for him. But when the real McDonald's company thought, "Ane api website එකක් හදමු කියලා domain name එක ගන්න ගියොත්, when they wanted to go as McDonald's.com, that was sorry.com, it was already given. This fellow had gulfind it. Right? And then McDonald had to come and ask him, "Ane මේක මට අපිට දෙන්නකෝ. මේක අපේනේ නම ඔයා නිකන් බොරුවට නේද ගත්තේ?" "ඔව් මම බොරුවට තමයි ගත්තේ. මම දන්නවා ඔයා එයි කියලා." And this man sold that domain name for McDonald's. And he became a rich bugger. Basically, people can register other people's domain names and wait and see whether they are coming to me and resell that to that person. Right? So due to that reason, you have to be very careful. The same thing happened to Nissan.com. Right? You had like Toyota, you have Nissan. Right? Nissan කියලා computer corporation එකක් තිබ්බා. ඒක ප්‍රසිද්ධි නෑ. Nissan කියලා සාමාන්‍ය කියද්දි වාහන company තමයි ප්‍රසිද්ධි. Nissan Motor Corporation තමයි ප්‍රසිද්ධි. But there was another small petty කඩේ called Nissan Computer Corporation. But those fellows, the computer fellows, quickly registered as Nissan.com. They registered as Nissan.com and computer people were using it. When the motor corporation, when the Vahana company, Nissan, Motor Corporation thought to get Nissan.com, already the computer fellows had taken it. And the Nissan Motor Corporation went to courts. And fought. No, this Nissan.com is more suitable for us. It's not suitable, maybe others too, but we are the popular people for Nissan. But finally, Nissan Motor Corporation lost the case. They lost the case. The person who registered first has the right to use the domain name. So it's very important that you realize if you have an organization, seeing what is the suitability, registering that is very important. Then it reflects your company's name very clearly. All right. And so taking an example, we'll think that your dada, your father basically has a car sale. He can dada car විකුණනවා. ABC car sale private limited hari මොනාරි. Dada is asking you, පුතා hari දුව hari කවුරු hari, right? මට මේ website එකක් ඕනේ. පාට එක බලලා කරලා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. First you have to register the company. Register the domain name. If the car sale is ABC, then එතකොට ඔයා තීරණය කරන්න ඕනේ මොකක්ද අපි දාන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ are we going to go under a country domain or a generic domain? So if you do that study, you will feel අපිට පුළුවන් abc.lk මේකත් අපිට සුදුසුයි. එහෙම නැත්නම් අනිත් පැත්තෙන් බැලුවොත් generic පැත්තෙන් බැලුවොත් අපි edu සුදුසු නෑ because අපි කාර් ගැන උගන්වලා දෙන්නේ නෑ. org සුදුසු නෑ අපි කාර් නිකන් දෙන්නෙත් නෑ. අපි gov එක්ක සම්බන්ධත් නෑ. එතකොට අපි com සුදුසු අපිට. AB is a commercial company. That means company abc.lk mean ABC is something in Sri Lanka. abc.com mean ABC is a company. So මේ දෙකම වලට සුදුසු ඔය කැමති එක ගන්න. Right? So basically you can tell your dad, "Me dada, we report you decide," like Sirasa says. Either you take abc.lk or you can take abc.com. Both are suitable for us. So if you have abc.lk, our website will be www.abc.lk. In case it is abc.com, our website will be www.abc.com. So if somebody or anybody or basically everybody look at this, they will realize ABC is ABC is something in Sri Lanka. ABC is an is a company. See, right? Now sometimes your dad can ask පුතා එතකොට අපිට මෙහෙම ගන්න පුළුවන්ද www.abc.com.lk ගන්න පුළුවන්ද මෙහෙම දැන් ඔයා මෙතන කිව්වා ABC is something in Sri Lanka don't know what thing but here you said ABC is a company but don't know where මේක ගත්තොත් සුදුසු නෙමෙයි ABC is a company in Sri Lanka දැන් ඔයා මොකද්ද කියන්නේ ඔව් මේක ගන්න පුළුවන් ඒකත් පුළුවන් ඒකත් there are some sites go like that I think LOLC ද මට හරියට මතක නැහැ ඔව් LOLC ද කොහෙද ඉන්ගේ සයිට් එකේ යන්නේ com.lk අන්න එහෙම මම දන්න තරමට කලින් BCS සයිට් එකේ ගියේ www.bcs.org.uk BCS is a non-profitable organization in the United Kingdom අන්න එහෙම so ඔයාට එහෙම යන්න පුළුවන් also you can so if you want to take like this you have to register it accordingly now for example get this other point now you think if you want to register under LK how do you do that this LK domain is representing Sri Lanka right and this LK domain is managed by University of Morocco they are the people who are managing our LK domain if you want to register a domain under LK ඔයාට පුළුවන් සයිට් එකට යන්න nic.lk මම හිතන්නේ දැන් ඔය සයිට් එක වෙනස් කරලා තියෙන්නේ domains.lk වෙන්නේ නැති but කලබල වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ නිකන් you type nic.lk and press enter it will divert to the other site and open that site www කැලලක් තිබ්බේ නෑ මම දන්න තරමට just nic.lk there when you go you get a box to type the domain name ඕනනම් මම ගිහිල්ලා පෙන්නන්නම් ඕක මේ සයිට් එක ගිය ගාම it will give you a box මෙතන .lk කියලා දාලා තියෙන්නේ ඔයාට ravi.lk ඕනනම් ඔයා මෙතන ravi කියලා ටයිප් කරන්න මෙතන search කියලා box එකක් තියෙනවා search කියලා button එකක් තියෙනවා search එක click කරපු ගාම it will tell ravi.lk තියෙනවද නැද්ද ravi.lk දැනට තියෙනවද නැත්නම් වෙන කවුරු හරි ගත්තද it will tell you තියෙනවා නම් ඔයාලට ගන්න පුළුවන් කවුරු හරි ගත්තා නම් ඔයාලට ගන්න බෑ you can simply go to this site and register it online right that's for LK domain if you want to go to this site you have many sites what you can register you can even just go to Google and enter register.com domain or you can go to some sites like godaddy.com networksolutions.com when you go there also you can purchase sites same way like this itself you get a box if you want abc.com type abc.com because there you can search for any domains and you click on search it will tell you whether that domain is available or not available right so basically registering your domain with the suitable name is important right all right so you decide whether it is under the country domain or whether it is the generic domain ඔයාට දෙකක් මෙතන සුදුසු කියලා හිතනවා නම් අනේ මට මේකත් කැමති මට මේකත් කැමති ඒ කොහමද වා එහෙම වෙනවා තමයි ඉතින් සමහර වෙලාවට අයිස්ක්‍රීම් කන්න ගියොත් ඔයාට මොකද ඕනේ වැනිලා ෆ්ලේවර්ද චොක්ලට් ෆ්ලේවර්ද මට දෙකම කැමති දෙකම එක එක ස්කූප් දාන්න යා ඒ පුළුවන් ඉතින් ඔයාට මෙතන දෙකම කැමති නම් ඔයාට පුළුවන් මේ දෙකම රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්න දෙකම තිබ්බොත් දෙකම රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්න කැමති නම් දෙකම රෙජිස්ටර් කරලා එකක් පාවිච්චි කරන්න අනිත් එක නිකන් තියන්න ඔයාට කැමති නෑ මට දෙකම කැමති එහෙමනම් දෙකම පාවිච්චි කරන්න එකම සයිට් එක දෙකටම පොයින්ට් කරලා තියෙනවා when you type www.abc.lk this abc.lk has a www record, no? abc.lk has a www host name, no? ඒකට දාන්න IP address එකයි abc.com එකටත් www එකක් දාලා ඒකට දාන්න IP address එකයි. මේ IP address දෙකම එක IP address එක දාන්න. So when you type www.abc.lk, it goes to the same site. If you type www.abc.com, also it goes to the same site. Likewise, you can decide, right? Okay, so those are things what people sit collectively in the company and decide. When you're working in an organization, certain things, certain decisions collectively take. Right? There are some companies, they change the name also later. Company name also change. Right? So likewise, sudusu ekak oya ganna. Right. Now the next is, if I just ask you a question, why did Sri Lanka get LK, guys? Eh, bang, api Sri Lanka neda bang. Apita SL sudusu neda. Eh, apita me LK hambune. Api Lanka. Hari api Sri Lanka neda. Apita SL tibbot nigang. It's more suitable, right? But unfortunately, we are using LK. What could be the scene? I already told you that when you are taking the domain names, you have to quickly, when you want an organization, a name, when you make, quickly you have to get the domain name. You think you want to open a biscuit company and you come across with a name. Make a tama ape biscuit company ge nama. Eka anittunta kiyanna kaliන් register කරගන්න domain name එක. If not, another fellow gets to know අම්මට මේ set එක එකතු වෙලා මේ වගේ company එකක් හදන්න යන්නේ. අපිට පටස් ගාලා මේගොල්ලන්ට සුදුසු මචං මේක LK ගේ යටින් register කරන්න. අපි පට් ගාලා register කරා. Then we have to go behind that bugger saying අනේ මේ ඔය බලු වැඩනේ කරේ. And go him and convince him and buy it from him. Right, okay. So what is the story? What happened here is that Sri Lanka එකට SL හම්බෙන්නේ නැතුව අපිට LK හම්බුණ හේතුව ඔයා හිතනවද ලෝකයේම SL පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් තව සුදුසු රටක් ඇති කියලා? ලංකාවට වඩා ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට වඩා මේ ලෝකයේ SL පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් තව රටක් ඇතිද? මේ ඔයා ඕන තැනකට ගිහිල්ලා ශ්‍රී ලංකා කියලා බලන්න. People know us for good or bad. පරිස්සමින් කියලා බලන්න. But what I say is Sri Lanka, we are popular. But the real issue what happened is, right? Api ඇත්ත නම මොකක්ද guys කලින්? What was our real name those days? We went as Bank of Ceylon. අපේ ඇත්ත නම Ceylon. එහෙමනම් අපිට හම්බුණ ඇත්ත domain නම CE තමයි. අපේ domain name එක මොකද්ද? CE. ඒක තමයි අපිට හම්බුනේ. right? ඊට පස්සේ වෙන රටක් තිබ්බා. Sierra Leone. ඒක ඒ රටට තමයි SL හම්බුනේ. What is SL using? Sierra Leone is only using SL. නමුත් ඒ රටට වඩා අපි ප්‍රසිද්ධයි. But what to do? We were called Ceylon, so we were given CE, and Sierra Leone was given SL. After a period of time, we changed our name from Ceylon to Sri Lanka. එතකොට බස් එක ගිහිල්ලා ඉවරයි. Then we had to take, because SL is already given, right? Then we had to take another name, and it resulted us getting LK. Right? So basically, there was we were late. දැක්කනේ පරක්කුණොත් ඉවරයි. Right? So domain names, right? You have to make sure your domain name, you register immediately what is suitable for you and get the domain name. All right. So that is about the story about selecting domain names. All right. Our site tech, I think පොඩක් ඕන අපිට බලන්න පුළුවන්. NIC කියලා මට හිතනවා. Yes, NIBM නෙමෙයි, nic.lk. You type nic.lk. That again. Next time we'll go to domain.lk. Domains.lk. Yes. So you can type අර මම දන්නේ මම කලින් නම් nic.lk කියලා type කරත් ඔක වැඩ කරා. Right? So basically or you will have to type one domains.lk. So this is our LK domain registry. So ඔයාටම ආයි site එකක් ඕන නම් මෙතන type කරන්න. ඔයාලා නිකන් රවි ඕන කියලා හිතුවත් ravi.com තියෙනවද දන්නේ නැහැ බලමු. Example. Click on search and see whether it's restricted. That means it is not there. See, suggested top level domains. Ravi.lk domain name usage is restricted. Basically, you can't take it. You can take something like this, iRavi or something else. You have to try. You say NIBM. Yeah, NIBM it says clearly, see, is registered and this is the IT Karya, National Institute of Business Management. Earlier when I typed Ravi, it said restricted. Maybe that person does not want to show who is it. So NIBM.lk අපිට වැඩක් නැහැ. අපි කියමු අපිට තමයි registered කියලා. එයි හංගන්නේ. ඒක අපෙන්. Right? So maybe a person wants you can maybe hide the person's personal details also. Or if you just type some other name, if it is available, it will say it is available and add to chart. And you can purchase that particular domain. So now you don't have NIBM.lk, but when අමුතු නම මු suggest කරලා දෙනවා. මේ බයිලා වගේ suggestion මට වැඩක් නැහැ. මට ඕනේ ENIBM. අය ඒවන try කරලා බලන්න. ENIBM. And you can like that search and see whether what is the domain name available. Likewise, GoDaddy is also there, right? You can search for that also. Right. So basically, that is talking about the someone buy a domain. If someone good. If someone buy domain before renewing, now that NIBM, see here, it's expiring in 2027. එතකොට ඒකත් එක්ක අපි ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒක රිනියු කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒක රිනියු කරේ නැත්නම් තව එක්කෙනෙක්ට මේක ගන්න පුළුවන්. They can take NIBM. So we have to keep an eye and get it. Right? If not, another person can. It does not mean just because some domain names 1 year. 1 year you take it. මෙන්න බලන්න දැන් මේක ගත්තොත් මම දන්න තරමට මේ 5000 per year. අවුරුද්දට 5000ක්. ඉතින් ඔයාට ඕනනම් අවුරුදු 3ටම ගන්න පුළුවන්. Right? ඉතින් අවුරුදු 3ට if it is an organization 15,000 is nothing, right? Simple Simon Metta payment, right? If it is expired, another person can you can, if it is your site, you have to renew it. If you do not renew it, I think you have a time. හෙටම තව කෙනෙක්ට ගන්න බෑ. You are given, I think 1 week or something is given. ඒක ඇතුළ ඔයා ගන්න ඕනේ. නැත්නම් ඒක තව කෙනෙක්ට ගන්න පුළුවන්. Right? So that is about the domain registry part of it. So you have two sides. කැමති පැත්තෙන් ගිහිල්ලා සුදුසු organization එකට අනුව try to register the domain name. All right. The next topic talks about how domain resolution work. When I started DNS, Mama, I erased this screen, but I gave you a very big picture about DNS. If you type or browser, when you type www.nibm.lk, it goes to the DNS. DNS will give the IP address and you go to the destination. Yeah? So I spoke positively. You go to the DNS, DNS server has the IP address and he gives it to you, and then you can go to the destination. Now, this is giving you this question is, how does www.yahoo get resolved from your home PC? එතකොට ඔයාගේ ගෙදර PC එක type කරොත් ISP එකට යනවා. ISP DNS server එකේ තිබ්බොත් මොකද්ද? www.yahoo.com ඔයාට IP එක හම්බ වෙනවා. ඒ IP එක හම්බෙලා හම්බුනාට පස්සේ it will automatically go to the destination. But now the question is, if your ISP DNS server does not have it, what is the scenario? What is the case? So you have different type of DNS server: cache DNS server, root DNS server, top level DNS server, authoritative DNS server, and so on. If I put a diagram for it, I'll erase this. Get me clearly. So this is your gather, and this is your laptop. And in your home machine, you are typing www. According to that example, it was yahoo.com, you are typing. What would happen? It will go to your ISP, ISP DNS server. So when you type www.yahoo.com, number 1, 1, 2, 3 now, so it will make you easy to follow that. You type www.yahoo.com, what happens? It goes to your service provider and ask, number 2, ISP DNS server, www.yahoo.com එක මොකක්ද? එයාට database එකක් ඇති මෙතන එකෙන් බලයි. තිබ්බොත් මෙයාට දෙයි, මෙයාට අරන් යන්න තමයි තියෙන destination Yahoo එකට යන්න තියෙන්නේ. But we'll think that this site is a new website. And the ISP DNS server does not know that. You are going and asking www.yahoo.com to this server, and the ISP DNS server doesn't know that what is www.yahoo.com is equal to what IP address. He does not know it. Then what he will do? He will not come and tell you, "Me man danne abo una magulak karapan man danne." එහෙම කියන්නේ. He takes the responsibility to find the IP address and gives you the uttare. How it's done? Now, the next is like ISP's DNS server, you have something called root DNS server. In the world, we have approximately 13 plus root name servers. It increases. That means, I hope that you can remember this diagram where I put a dot here and divide it like this. US, LK, com, එහෙම ලිව්වා නේද? හරි. එහෙමනම් මම මෙතන dot එකක් දැම්මා. මේ dot එක තමයි root name server. එතකොට root name server ලෝකේ there are about 13 plus root name servers, same thing, in different countries, maybe Singapore, Malaysia, US, Russia. Likewise, in certain countries, you have root DNS server. And this US LK, now LK domain is maintained by Unistom Moratoa, and they have the LK DNS server. The Unistom Moratoa maintains the LK DNS server. All right, and this, like this dot, I call it as a root DNS server. These are called top level DNS servers. So .com is a top level DNS server. .us is a top level DNS server. Like that, .lk is a top level DNS server. Correct. එහෙමනම් you have a root DNS server, and what happens is that he will go to the root DNS server and ask the root DNS server, number 3, ane root DNS server www.yahoo.com කියලා කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? He'll ask. Root DNS will say, අනේ මේ මට මේ www එකයි yahoo එකයි මම දන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් මේ .com එක තියෙන්නේ මගේ යටින්. හරිනේ මම root එකට යටින් නේද com තිබ්බේ. I know com. Root will say, I know com. I'll show him. You go and ask him. And then what will happen? Here you have the top level DNS. That means top level means this one is for .lk. So that means .lk is a top level domain maintained by Unistom Moratoa. Like that, you will have another one for .org. Likewise, you will have another one for .com. Now this is what we want. All top level domains, US, .jp, all those are top level domains. Now if you ask www.yahoo.com, it came to the ISP, it came to the root. Root will say, Mama, I don't know what is www.yahoo.com, but I will show you who is .com, because com is under the root. You go and ask that brother. And he points to that server. ගිහලා com ගෙන් අහන්න. දැන් මෙයා එනවා com එක ළඟ. And he will ask com, අනේ com මේ www.yahoo.com කියලා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? com will say මේ මට මේ www.com බොදන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් Yahoo is under me. හරිනේ බං. google.com, yahoo.com, facebook.com. So com knows all those companies. Now com will say, I don't know what is www, but I will tell you who is Yahoo. You go to Yahoo, I'll show you who is Yahoo. I'll point you to Yahoo. You go to Yahoo, he will tell his www. And now you have Yahoo's DNS. Yahoo DNS එක ඔයාට මෙතන තියෙනවා. මේ Yahoo DNS server, and inside this you have a text file called zone file. It's a text file. And this text file, it belongs to the domain yahoo.com, and all the resources that belongs to yahoo.com host names are here right now. මේකට යටින් තමයි it is there as www is equal to space එකක් තියෙන එතන මම space එකම දාන්න. Is equal to 66.7.8.12. mail.yahoo.com is equal to 66.7.8.13. අන්න මෙහෙම. So now, if I go to my sequence of what I'm talking, and here, who says me, you come to come and ask. Yeah, you come to come and ask. Come, www.yahoo.com. Come, you say me, www. I will show you who is Yahoo. Go and ask Yahoo, and he will point to Yahoo and tell me, Yahoo get address or Yahoo to Gilan. And now from here, you come back to here, to Yahoo. Now you have come to the correct position. And what are you asking? Every place you ask the same question. May www.yahoo.com is equal to what IP? IP. Now you have come into Yahoo. Now Yahoo has this zone file, and Yahoo will say www.yahoo.com is equal to 66.7.8.12, and now he will respond with that. And now your ISP DNS said what? It's what ඕන මේක නේද? මොකද්ද? You want that what is www.yahoo.com, right? Okay, that is equal to 66.7.8. Now this server will put a record. www.yahoo.com is equal to 66.7.8.12 කියලා record කරගෙන ඒ record එක දෙනවා ඔයාගේ machine එකට number 9. Now your computer has the number 66.7.8.12. Now keeping that, you can go and find whom? Yahoo's web server. Somewhere in the world, you will have www.yahoo.com, and that is the machine which exactly have this IP address. It can be in some part of the world. And after getting this 9th one, now you got the 9th one. What is the answer? 66.7.8.12. Now what you do is, from your machine, you can come to this machine. That is the 10th one. So the 10th one is, what did you get? You got there was this one. So from here, now you know that www.yahoo.com is equal to 66.7.8.12. Now you, through the internet, you come to the yahoo.com's 66.7.8.12 machine, and you can access their web page. Got the point? I hope that it is clear. Just see whether you get that idea. So it's very important. I can remember when I went for dialogue, this was an interview question to me. He gave me a piece of paper and asked, assume the ISP DNS server does not know the IP address. ISP, dialog was an ISP. Assume our DNS server does not know the IP address. What the route it takes in order to find the IP address and give it. But just see, guys, I'll just give you 2 minutes. See whether I have put 1, 2, 3, 4 to make your life more comfortable. See whether can you get that logic. If something is confusing, just let me know. Put it in the chat window, or you can on your mic and ask me. Just see whether you get it. Starting from the first in your home, you are going to your ISP DNS. It does not have the record. Then it is sending to the root and going on further. Check it. Is it clear, guys? I hope that it is clear. And any confusions anybody have? Is that clear for you people? So basically, after the DNS ISP, ISP DNS server එකට තමයි you call it as a cache DNS server. Cache කරලා තියාගන්න. Now if another customer types www.yahoo.com, ඒක මෙයාගේ cache එකේ තියෙනවා. එතකොට දැන් මෙච්චර දුර ආපහු යන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. First person typed, you went all these lot and searched and came. And now you cached it here. The ඊළඟ පුද්ගලයා goes, you take it from the cache. Right? So ISP එකේ තියෙන DNS server එකට අපි කියන්නේ මොන DNS server ද කියලා? Cache DNS server. එතකොට මේකට අපි කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? Root DNS server. And I told you in the world there are approximately how many root DNS servers? 13 plus. So maybe there are many root DNS server, and your ISP's DNS server knows. Yeah, danna. Mona hari awul nang root DNS server ekata dam. Maybe his first preference is example, right? In Sri Lanka, example, first root DNS server he puts it to Singapore. If Singapore is down, he has the second root DNS server, maybe Malaysia. Maybe if that is also down, the third root DNS server. So all the DNS root DNS servers he knows. Right? So likewise, these are top level DNS servers. And I told LK all records nibm.lk is under LK, right? Likewise, and every company will have to have their own DNS server if they have these records. Their website, they should have a zone file. So NIBM, we have NIBM's DNS server, and that is for nibm.lk. and all our you call them as A records. These A records, these are called A records, are entered in that particular zone file. Right. So that's that part talking about, guys. I hope that part would have been clear for you. Right. So now moving to the next. So that is the diagram can be, if you want, you can take a screenshot. I hope that you would have taken a screenshot. So I had a screenshot but to make things clear, I put that 1, 2, 3 and all those kind of stuff. So if you follow it, you can get the picture from where you have gone to where and so on, right? Right. That was about that particular DHCP. Right. So now we are moving to the next application level protocol, which we call as DHCP protocol. Right. So DNS එක පාවිච්චි කරේ මොනවටද? Name resolution. Right. And now we are coming for DHCP. So DHCP එක අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ for what reason? To give IP. Now, for example, what is this DHCP server means this? For example, like human beings have names. Like all human beings, when a child is born, mama, dada get together and put a name for baba. No, you have to put a name. Namat dan one. Like likewise, if you take a network, all the gagematics connected to the network should have a IP address. All the computers should have an IP address. Not only computers, either it can be a computer, it can be a laptop, it can be a mobile phone, it can be a storage device, it can be servers like web server, database server, application server, proxy server. All these gagematics connect to the network. If you want to uniquely identify them, you have to give them an IP address. You have to give them an IP address. Now the question comes, in a company, if you have about 500 computers, I'll erase this. So in a company, if you have about 500 computers, you have 500 plus PCs, computers. Can you go one by one? Can you go one by one and give an IP address? Can you go one by one and give an IP address? IP address we'll study later, which is written in 4 dot decimals. Example, something like first machine එකට දෙන්න 10.10.10.1. Second එකට දෙන්න 10.10.10.2. ඊළඟ එකට දෙන්න 10.10.10.3. අන්න එහෙම. Example. එහෙම if you have 500 computers, ඔයාලට එක එක machine එකට ගිහිල්ලා එහෙම දෙන්න පුළුවන්ද? වෙන වැඩ නැත්තම් ඉතින් අවුලක් නැහැ. වෙන වැඩ නැති වුණොත් අපිට කරන්න කැමති නැහැ. ඉස්සුදවන් this is a boring job. ඒක කරන්න බෑ මට. Because that is not possible. If you have 500 or 1000 computers, going one by one and giving IP address is a mission impossible task. Basically a complex task. ඒ නිසා තමයි this protocol DHCP server is there. So DHCP is a protocol. Is a protocol that will work in a server. For example, you take this diagram, you have computers. And you should have one computer. You should have one computer to work as the DHCP server. And after enabling DHCP there, the DHCP protocol will work. And in the protocol, you have to create an IP pool. And tell me 10.10.10.1 indala, right? 10.10.10 10.200 වෙනකන් ඔයා IP addresses issue කරන්න. And that's the point. ඒකත් එක්කම computers DNS IP එක විදියට 8.8 මු අහන්නේ මේකත් ඔයා දෙන්න. එයා දෙන්නවා. Likewise, you define in the DHCP server. So what is a DHCP server? DHCP server will have a pool of IP address. So 10.10.10.1 indala 200. So 10.10.10.1, 2, 3, 4, up to 200 it can give. There is a pool. Right? So now what happens is that when you on this machine, number one, when you on this machine, he will go and shout in the network. That shouting is called as a broadcast. He will shout in the network and ask, Annie, is there a DHCP server? Can you please give me an IP address? That will be heard by all these people also. මේගොල්ලන් ගණන් ගන්නෑ, but that it comes to him. And he is a DHCP server. He will respond to it. And from his pool, he will take one IP address plus the DNS IP and give an IP address to this fellow. Are, එම කෑ ගන්න එපා. මම ඔයාලට දෙන්න. පස්සේ මගේ pool එකට එනවා. pool එකකින් කරන්නේ number 4th අදාළ පුද්ගලයාට ඔයාට ඕනේ මොකද්ද? IP address එකනේ. මේක තියාගනි. but on දෙන්නම් 10.10.10.1 එක ගනින් මම ඔයා ඇහුවේ නෑ තමයි. නමුත් ඔයාට ඉන්ටර්නෙට් යන්න ඕනේ නේද? ඉන්ටර්නෙට් යන්න ඕන නම් ඔන්න මම දුන්නා වගේ DNS එකකුත් දුන්නා. ඕකත් ඔබ දාගනින්. එතකොට ඔයා ටයිප් කරන්න මොන හරි 8.8.8 එකට ගිහිල්ලා name resolve කරලා ඉන්ටර්නෙට් එකට යයි. අම්මට. Now he gets the IP address 10.10.10.1 and the DNS IP is also set to 8.8.8.8. Likewise, all these computers, this computer, all these computers when you on, all will send a broadcast and ask in the network, is there a DHCP server? Can you please give me an IP address? The DHCP server තග දාන්න. But ඕන ද IP address එකක්. එයාගේ pool එකෙන් තියෙන IP address එකක් අදාළ පුද්ගලයාට release කරයි. Right, so that's the idea about DHCP server. So in very brief, what is DHCP server? DHCP is used to automatically assign IPs to pieces. ඔයාට කැමති නම් කියන්න පුළුවන් DHCP is used to automatically assign dynamic IPs to PC. Why do you call it as dynamic? ඒක වෙනස් වෙනවා. Now on this computer I got this IP address. මෙයා IP address එක දෙද්දී මෙයා කියලා දෙන්නේ මේ මල්ලි මේක valid 7 days ට විතරයි. ඊට පස්සේ මම ආපහු ගන්නවා ඔයාගෙන්. ඔයාට ඕන නම් ආපහු ඉල්ලන්න. තමයි තව එකක් දෙන්න. That's the meaning of dynamic. Static means it doesn't change, but dynamic means it changes over again. So you should know the point. DHCP servers usually give dynamic IP addresses. And so that's the idea. So all now, for example, if you take mobile phones, right? Mobile phone එක අරන් ඔයා NIBM එකට ඇවිල්ලා when you connect to our Wi-Fi, I think you come and you connect your mobile phone. You connect to our Wi-Fi. ඔයාට IP address එක හම්බෙන්න ඕනේ. That means as soon as you on the mobile phone and select the Wi-Fi NIBM, your phone will start shouting. අනේ is there a DHCP server? මට නැද්ද IP address එකක්? මට දෙන්න. And then the DHCP server will automatically give you an IP address. Right? So basically, if not, how all the mobile phones can you give manually IP address? Please, so handy. So basically, all the computers, we try to give the IP address automatically. All the mobile phones, if you want to connect to Wi-Fi, you have to have an IP address. And that IP address is assigned by the DHCP server. So you can see that again here. DHCP is a protocol that allows a server to dynamically, static dynamically distribute IP address and configuration information. Configuration information like DNS IP, router IP address, gateway IP address, subnet mask, all we will study. Right? What is IP address? Subnet mask subnet mask you will study under the topic of IP address. DNS IP gateway. What is gateway also you study later. All these things the DHCP server will give to the machine. So in this DHCP server, like I said, you have to create the pool. Pool like a swimming pool like a IP pool like a IP pool like a hadan ඔයා කැමති රේන්ජ් එක ඩිෆයින් කරගෙන අර මම කිව්වා වගේ 10.1 ඉඳලා 200 වෙනකම් then likewise likewise the DHCP server should have a pool, and when you on the machine, see here this diagram, this gives the logic. The big logic. Client is the computer, DHCP server. You on the machine, he shouts in the network. And that shouting is called as broadcast. And meya kaya gahanne එක මේගොල්ලන්ටත් ඇහෙනවා. අනේ is there a DHCP server? Can you give me an IP? මෙයාට ඇහෙනවා මු ගණන් ගන්න. මු DHCP server නෙමෙයිනේ. මුටත් ඇහෙනවා. මු ගණන් ගන්න. But this fellow will ගණන් find and give an IP from the pool. So see here, he sends a discovery, it comes to the server, server will hear it, others will also get that, but they will not do anything. Only the respective server will give an offer. අනේ මේක ඔයාලට දෙන්නද? අනේ ඕක මට දෙන්නකෝ. ඕක තියාගනි. So those are the initial steps. And you get an IP address. And exceptionally, if you want, you can say, මට IP එක කැමති නෑ. මට තව එකක් දෙන්න. එහෙම කියන්න යන්න එපා, but you can tell that. If I go to my computer and type the command ipconfig /all. I'm at an IBM. I've used the wired cable. So you can see here the wired cable. It says nibm.local. Wireless connect කරේ නැහැ. එතකොට මගේ network cable එක මේක. Ethernet cable. අම්මට උඩු මෙන්න දැක්කද? මට හම්බෙලා තියෙන්නේ මේ මගේ DHCP server NIBM DHCP server එක මේක 192.168.2.6. So when I on my machine, my computer used to shout, and this is the server that listened it. And he said, "Are okay, malli kaya ganne pa mombota denna." Unna dunna IP එක. IP address 192.168.12.102. So the IP are given to me. right? And this is the DNS server given to me. So likewise, that information, oh, this IP address, it will change. When I go home and connect it to Wi-Fi, this will be vanished because this information came from DHCP. See, DHCP enabled. So mama NIBM ඇවිල්ලා net cable එක ගහපු ගාම my machine start shouting. Anne, is there a DHCP server? Can you give an IP? This fellow will give all these statistics. MAC address දෙන්නේ නැහැ. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් IP address එකයි, default gateway එකයි, subnet mask එකයි, DNS IP එකයි. Right. So that was that idea about DHCP. And another important thing you should know about DHCP. I don't know whether can you see this one. Two tier an IP address at the very bottom. 169.254.x.x. ඒකෙන් අදහස් කරන්නේ මොකක්ද? Interview question. I think a person tells මට ඉන්ටර්නෙට් වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඔයා එයාගේ කම්පියුටර් එකට ගිහිල්ලා IP config කියලා ගැහුවොත් ඔයාට IP address එක එන්න ඕනේ. අර මම ටයිප් කරපු වගේ command prompt එකට ගිහිල්ලා IP config මෙම එන්න ඕනේ. මේ Ethernet cable එකට ආපු IP. මෙම එන්න ඕනේ. කලින් මම ටයිප් කරේ IP config/all. Then I get a little bit more information. But now this time I just type IP config. Then I get only the machine's IP address. Right? So that means the DHCP server has given me these three: IP address, subnet mask, default gateway. And DNS also it gives, but it is not displaying in this command. Right. Now, what is the meaning of this? If a computer gets an IP address from 169.254, that gives you a hint. 169. 169.254.x.x. ඉතුරු numbers දෙක ඕන දෙයක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. If a computer gets an IP address from this, it has a meaning. What is the meaning? Cannot, again a PC cannot contact cannot connect to DHCP server. And එයාට DHCP server එක connect කරන්න බැරි වුණොත් and automatically he gets an IP from that range. Right? එතකොට DHCP PC cannot connect to the DHCP වෙන්න හේතුව මොකක්ද? කම්පියුටර් එකට කේබල් එක ගහලා නැතුව ඇති සමහර වෙලාවට. නැත්තම් අර මැද තියෙන ස්විච් එකක් ඩවුන් නැති. එහෙමත් නැත්තම් DHCP pool is over. It can over full. DHCP server pool එක full. එතකොටත් ඔයාට IP එකක් හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඔයාට ඉබේ, ඒ කියන්නේ auto you get an IP address from 169.254.x.x. So if your computer has an IP address from 169.254.x.x, you should realize in a computer will not work. Computer will work, network will not work. The reason is that your machine has not got an IP address, and the reason is the machine cannot connect to the DHCP server. ඒකට හේතුවල් ගොඩක් ඇති. එකක් කම්පියුටර් එකට ගහලා කේබල් එක ගහලා නැහැ. අනිත් එක මැද හරිය තියෙන ස්විච් එකකට කෙලවෙලා. එහෙම නැත්නම් DHCP serverම down නැති. DHCP serverම down නැති. එහෙම වුණොත් you get an IP address from 169.254. එහෙමත් නැත්නම් හේතුව is the DHCP pool is filled up. Was it clear, guys? Any questions, any doubts here? Class B. Yeah, ඇත්තට ඒක class B එක දන්න one කරේ one IP address will study 1 to 126 is class A. Right? And then class B will become 1 to 7 පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ 1 to 8 to 191 is a class B. The ranges will study later on. So basically here when you say 169, yes, that is a class B range, but it tries to take. Fine. Anybody, any questions? Is it clear, guys, what I spoke? Are you all there, guys? Is it clear for you all? Any questions, anybody? Right. So what is the difference between DHCP unit and DHCP server? Now, if you say a DHCP server, then ඔයා නිකන් හිතන්න ඔයාගේ ගෙදර ඔයාට ADSL connection එකක් හරි මොනවද තියෙනවා කියලා example. You have an ADSL router. එහෙම නැත්නම් dialog එකෙන් you have a 4G router and a connection you have. හරි? කරක් තියෙනවා. එහෙම ඔයාට තිබ්බොත් ADSL router වැඩ කරන්නේ router විදියටත් වැඩ කරනවා. එයා DHCP server විදියටත් වැඩ කරනවා. You got the point? If you have a 4G router at home given by from Dialog, that works as a router also to connect to the internet, to connect to the tower. But in the meantime, the router works as a DHCP server or a unit as well. So in a company, you can keep in, if it is a company, you will have a dedicated DHCP server. If it is a company, you will have a dedicated DHCP server. But if it is a house, you don't need to keep a dedicated server. You can use your router as a DHCP unit. I hope that it is clear for you, right? So at Gedera, when you on your Wi-Fi and give your PIN and connect, you get an IP address. Who is giving the IP address? Do you have a DHCP server? No, you don't have a DHCP server by itself, but the router works as the DHCP unit, right? Okay, so I hope that answered your question. All right. So that was about the DHCP server part. So if it is a small organization, you don't need to keep a separate DHCP server because that's an additional cost. Your router also can work as a DHCP server. But then for a large organization, that is not suitable. Because if you use your router as a DHCP unit, then what happens is, when all the computer starts asking, "Ane mata IP එකක් දෙන්නකෝ," router එකත් වැඩක්. So for a large organization, you keep a separate machine as a DHCP server. All right. Now comes two questions. So I'll give a couple of minutes. Try to see whether you can answer them and put it in the chat. 1 dash what? 2 dash what? One එකට A, two එකට C. 1A. What is the correct statement regarding application layer? Telnet SSH can be used to remote logging. Yeah, it's correct. Telnet and SSH can be used for remote logging. It's the correct answer. So A the Q, A in the then that's correct. Second one is C. Can anybody else try the second one? Which type of traffic is delay sensitive? Delay feel කරන්නේ මොන traffic එකටද? يعني පොඩ්ඩක් delay වුණොත් උන්ට ටක් ගාලා දැනෙනවා. That's the meaning of that delay sensitive. Try anybody? What is the correct answer for the second one? Yes, out of all, hurry up. Anybody? What is the correct answer for the second one? හරි second එකට හරි උත්තරය වෙන්නේ මොකද්ද? delay එක feel වෙන්නේ voice එකට, right? So voice, yeah, voice is the correct answer, correct. So voice will be the correct answer there. D will become the correct answer. Okay, try this question. Anybody? D for both. Let's see. What is the correct statement regarding DHCP? Automatically assigns IP address subnet. Yes. Yeah, it's the correct answer. O ekata D. Fifth ekata regarding web access. What is the wrong statement? Regarding web access, what is the wrong statement? The request use the request. Again, what is the wrong statement? The request use the HTTP to communicate. That's a correct answer, right? Because if you have a web request, the requests use HTTP protocol to communicate between the browser and the web server. So I think D is a correct answer. What would be the wrong answer there? Yes, I think B is correct because telnet is used to navigate view. Yeah, that's wrong. So එතකොට මෙතන හරි උත්තරේ විදියට එන්නේ B තමයි. Right? Right. Good. Yeah. Right. We have another question here. Try this to see. මේක නෙමෙයි. හරි. මේක fifth එක try කරා. sixth එක බැරුව ඇති තාම. Try the fifth one. A user types the ping www.nibn.tel, which of the following protocols is used? මේකත් අපි පොඩ්ඩයින් මේකත් අපි කරලා නැහැ. කවුරු හරි කියලා තියෙන උත්තරේ 5 ද මේක 5C ද? Good. Yeah, but really this was the other slide. Yeah, ICMP is that protocol. Good. හරි මේක try කරා. What about the others? I want couple of answers. Regarding DNS, what is the wrong statement? 8D. What about the seventh? Anybody about the seventh? Anyone try about the seventh one? The 8 D. 8 D. What protocol? Yeah, correct. 8D is correct. ARP Mukadda Kela will study about it. So 8 එකට D 7 එකට මොකද්ද බලන්න. Regarding DNS had the wrong statement. DNS .com and .tlk are examples. That's correct. DNS can also be used to resolve. That's also correct. WNIME is an example for that's also correct. DNS uses TCP. එක තමයි වැරදි. That in our yesterday class we studied that DNS is just a small packet. Small mean a small request. No? Just a packet. This www.nibm.lk is what? In ඒකට TCP පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. පාර හදාගෙන flow control දාගෙන error control දාගෙන ඕනේ. So basically DNS uses UDP. So මේකේ වැරදි statement එකේ A 7 එකට එන්නේ A. Right? Fine, good. City. Yeah, correct. And try this one. 9 is A. Yes, good. Yes, because I think SNMP, although we didn't study UDP, because HTTP should use its text. So then TCP is suitable. FTP is again file transfer. It's file, it's text. TCP තමයි පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕනේ. POP3 is related to text. එතකොට TCP තමයි මේ තුනට පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම නම් SNMP, simple network management protocol, should be the answer for UDP. And for the 10th one, B. CB දාලා තියෙනවා. Yeah, when you enter IP config on a PC, you observe this. What is the meaning of it? The PC has static now. PC is unable to connect the DHCP server. So C is the correct answer there, right? Correct. So 10C will become the correct answer. 10C, right? Fine. Because since the DHCP server, you cannot connect it, right? You get a 169 range. Right, the last one, try this to see. So state whether the following statement are true or false. So you can say A dash TOF. Okay. First one, both have said it is false. State whether HTTP is a yeah, HTTP is a protocol used to access the internet. Yeah, that's wrong. WWW is one of the service used on the internet. Yeah, that is true. True. Third data false. Software is used to send emails and yeah, it's also correct. FTP, yeah, DNS can also resolve IP. We did this, right? Yeah, yeah, that's true. Neither. DNS also can resolve. Yeah, that's also correct. IP address provided by DHCP is called static IP. Static IP, static IP. Yeah, that is false because that should be from a. Yeah, that's correct, right? So basically, that is false. Okay, guys. So with that, I think we have a couple of things to be discussed here. So we finally saw about DHCP server. Right. After the break, we completed the DNS server and the DHCP server. Right. So next, what we have to look is what is SNMP. Right. That we will talk in our next session. Hopefully, guys. So this is an important protocol we use for monitoring. Since there's a couple of minutes, I will do this by next week. And then another protocol is ARP. It's also a very silent protocol. I will discuss this detailedly in next class. But a very frequently used protocol, but a very silent protocol. But we want it. Right? It's not like HTTP, POP3, FTP, Telnet. They are very frequently spoken out. Right? But ARP is a very silent protocol and a very important protocol. ICMP, I think that concludes that particular slide basically. So I'll detailedly talk that in my next session. So ICMP is mainly used to for troubleshooting purposes. I have given here a set of screenshots to show you how that ICMP protocol works. The main command is the ping command, how that can be used and what are the statistics that it helps to provide. I have given here. So hopefully I will explain it and we'll see it by the next class. So with that, guys, for today, I will stop. I have uploaded this particular slide in LMS. Go through the slide. And if you have any questions, any clarifications, feel free to bring me in the next class. So with that, guys, I will stop for today. And thank you for joining the session. And once again, we'll meet in our physical class by next week.